Okay.
That was really smooth, I thought.
Hello, welcome to the first live show of Gothtober. I'm very excited. I hope you are all too. It's nice to see people here. And I am joined with co-hosts and, co-hosts and other guests. If you want to go around and introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I'm Hannah, Ladder M, and one of the main hosts for Gothtober.
I'm Cara from Wild Book Garden. I am a guest, just happy to be here.
I'm Kelly from Velvet Library. I'm also just happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you.
Very happy to have you all. And I'm Olivia Savannah from this channel that you're on right now. I always manage to say that so awkwardly. I need to think of...
The thing is, it's a really, like, when you go to say it on your own channel, it does feel really jarring because in theory, if they're watching on your channel, they know who you are. But having said that, the sheer number of times I've been like, I just want sprints. And then I've just Googled sprints and it's been like people I've never seen before. And then they don't introduce themselves. They don't put anything like their name or anything at the bottom, and I'm like, well, this is a fun person that I need to get to know because, like, I don't know anything about them. So,
yeah, always worth doing. But yes, welcome. This is the Crafts and Chill live show. It's just an easygoing way to welcome in the month. We'll all be just doing whatever craft you want. It doesn't have to be too crafty. You could be reading, you can be productivity sprinting. I hope you just enjoy being here. We're going to have some random spooky questions that will get thrown out, and feel free to answer along with us in the chat. But the very first question I have to ask is, what craft will you be doing?
Well, I had every intention of doing something with marker pens. I was going to do something like pumpkin, like drawing related, and then I realised that I had left most of my stuff back in Folkestone. So I have just texted a photo to Olivia of the awful D20 that I have drawn out, because my plan is to make a D20 pumpkin mashup with the very limited art skills that I have. So when I inevitably lose my temper with it, because it's not going how I see it in my head, I'm going to go back to writing my book. That's my plan.
Solid plan.
Okay, so as you can see, this doesn't look like anything right now because I decided to just start a new project instead of figuring out where I should pick up one of my current projects, because sometimes I do that. But I'm going to be making some cabled boot cuffs. So I have my little cable needle here too. And I can show you what they're going to look like. They're going to be real cute. I've made like a bunch of these before and I really like them. I don't know. Apparently cables are like one of the things that most knitters don't like to do. I find them really satisfying. But if it takes me a minute to respond, it might be because I counted something. So I'm not ignoring anyone.
Oh no, that's fair. That's fair.
I think that's
the one thing that like really puts. I'd love to learn to knit, but my nan was like, "It's a lot of counting," and I was like, "Cool, I'm no longer emotionally invested in that." Like, I was like, counting, sorry, not for me.
Yeah. The nice thing about knitting is like it's something that's very easy to like scale up the difficulty as you get bored and not before. Like it was a long time before I did anything that was more complicated than like a scarf, which is like basically no counting. So it's nice that like by the time I was, I think, skilled enough to advance, I was like, I'm getting bored doing rectangles. And so like that made it not feel as stressful. But there are definitely projects where I'm like, I feel like I need like a math degree to like to keep up with this. But
I have this sweatshirt that I bought like 2 years ago. And I bought it with every intention of embroidering something on the front and just never have. So I'm going to finally do that tonight.
That's exciting.
yeah.
Do you know what you're going to embroider?
So I have been wanting a black jersey that says Ben Solo's Good Boy Sweater on it. So that's what
I'm so here for that. I am so here for that.
So I still have to I want it in like a typewriter font. I don't have a huge amount of faith in my embroidery skills, but I need to like type it out, trace it off onto my like iron-on stuff, so that I can trace the embroidery onto the sweatshirt.
I need one now. I'm kind of devastated that I went for Gothtober because I feel like I could have done that. I definitely could have invested in.
We'll just needed those.
Yeah.
Can just go on the other side.
Hello, hope your toddler stays asleep, but we are not doing reading sprints. We're doing just like crafting. So conversation will be flowing all the way through. Crafting will be happening. Feel free to hop back in whenever you're ready.
Upside though, we have just started, so yes. You've got loads of time to do that.
Plenty of time. And I will be writing/planning my novel, and it's Afrofuturism, horror-y vibes, so it very much fits Gothtober. And I might draw the map. That is as artistically creative as it gets. So maybe I'll draw the map.
I love a map. And I actually texted Kelly this week to ask about like having some stuff done for the book that I'm working on, and then just never sent you the stuff I said I was going to send you, which is just classic Hannah. But I want like a map of where my characters live, which isn't technically a building. So I'm like, this could be really cool. Didn't send it. I asked Kelly. Kelly was all up for it, and then just never followed up.
I feel like you should be working on something. Maybe after you've done your brilliant D20, that is definitely going to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am using Lizzie's desk because Lizzie. Okay, right. This is my desk. This one here, and it's very long, which is great, but it's right under the light, so it just looks really weird. And also, I've got more desk space because I've taken up your desk, so I've got more space for activities. Thank you. I will absolutely read through your stuff later. I'm not even gonna hesitate. Next chance I get, I've got these ones. I've got these pro marker ones. I got two. These were actually, this color is pumpkin, so I feel like I'm off to a right start. And then I've got this one. I don't know what this one's called. Oh, this one's just classic gold. Which, to be fair, next to each other, those are the same. They
look very similar.
And then I got a yellow one for highlights, and then black because I remember my art teacher at school being really angry at me that I used to outline everything in black because I thought it looked cool. So just to spite him, I've bought a big black marker to outline everything.
I hope he's watching tonight. I hope he sees this and he's just like,
Mr. Fitz, you know who you are. You know what you did. Yeah, like he was a really nice guy. I used to spend a lot of my lunch breaks like in the art room, and he would just like, you could help yourself to anything and just do kind of any art project kind of thing. But he used to do this thing that was such a grammar school thing to do, right? Where he would pick his 5 favorite projects from the class each week and put them up on his like wall of fame. And then if you didn't make it up onto the wall, he would just hand you your stuff back. Like he wasn't even interested in like keeping it for anything else. I never once made it on the wall. So it was like one of those things where like every week he would just kind of like hand it back to me, and every week I'd be like, I'll try harder.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
That's like,
to be fair though, I don't know. I feel like it's very much like with grammar schools anyway, everything's a competition. Everything's elite. Everything's like, you've got to be the best, otherwise what's the point? But one of the girls who used to make it up onto the wall consecutively is now the arts director for a games development company. So I feel like, you know, she's got a BAFTA for her art. I was not off to a great start. Like, and I used to sit next to her. She was lovely. But like, my ego for drawing was never going to grow with such a master next to me. Like, it just wasn't open, and that's fair. That's how that rolls.
I feel like that is the start of a like second chance dark academia where you return to the school as a teacher and she's arts director and some competition-y thing is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would absolutely write that novel. I would absolutely write that.
I hope studying goes well. Saturday evening studying is commitment. Strictly. Is anybody else watching? This is very British. Is anybody else watching Strictly?
I'm not really into dancing shows.
I used to be.
I like a dancing show. I feel like the novelty's worn off a little bit for me. Like I find so bizarre is that Strictly and the Bake Off must have a massive Venn diagram of audience members that watch both, but they are a very different vibe, because in the Bake Off, because they're all kind of amateur bakers and not celebrities, it's very easy to champion them, especially when they're all really nice to each other. And when there is drama, it's really juicy because of those things. Whereas with celebrities dancing, it's not as exciting when there's drama, because you're like, I don't know, what if this is a PR stunt? And the fact that every single season has had some kind of cheating scandal, I just feel like
I was just about to say, Strictly Come Dancing is one of those like competition shows that I used to like because it had the least drama, and you can watch, like you did mention the cheating stuff, which is drama, but it's not in the actual program. So when you watch the program, it doesn't feel like the other competition-y ones because there's no drama like within it, which is the part I often like the least about those kind of shows if I watch them, which I don't anymore.
No, that's fair.
Colouring is very
That
similar.
counts. Yeah.
I was tempted. I've got a Cat's colouring book downstairs. I used to have loads. I used to have like a Marvel one, Game of Thrones one. I've got like 4 packets of pencils. But for some reason, at 7 o'clock this morning, I panicked that I don't do anything crafty. Just went to Hobbycraft, just bought the first thing I saw. And I also didn't want to get, because technically this is Lizzie's hoodie, this isn't even mine. Lizzie has already purchased the sample that I bought in the size that I need. And I don't want to get anything sticky on it. So the thing that I did last time, which was the collaging, that was a no-go. It was not going to happen. So I should have gone for colouring.
So I was like looking up stuff on Pinterest last night. Or the night before, and I was all excited to do something really, really cool. And then this morning I was going to go and like buy some supplies, get whatever I needed, do something like really cool and gothic. And then last night I checked our blackout schedule, and I was supposed to have a blackout now. So I messaged Olivia and I was like, I don't think I could make it. And then I went out this morning, came home, and then realized that actually they changed the schedule and now we weren't going to be out now. So I was just like, I have embroidery stuff. I will embroider.
Yes.
And I'm glad you can make it in the end.
I'm so glad I could make it.
Yeah. I was thinking like yesterday, because I figured I was going to be knitting because that's basically the only crafty thing I really do. But I didn't know like what I was going to be working on. And I was like, I really should get out one of these projects that has been in progress for a long time. But the problem with that is that if it's been too long, I kind of have to like reteach myself the pattern, which is not really conducive to just like chilling and chatting and hanging out. So I was like, this is a good excuse to start something different that is more fun and less stressful, because I've made it a bunch of times before. I decided this at like 1 a.m, like when I was going to bed. So kind of last minute, but it's okay.
That's fair.
It all worked out. We have some reading happening. Some bat ornaments. I did think more people would be making like decorations and that kind of thing. I think that happened a lot last year.
Yeah, well, there was loads of stuff in Hobbycraft that I was like, oh my God, this looks amazing. So they had like pumpkin-shaped pots that you could paint. And I actually they had loads of wood cutout shapes. And I got the little candelabra one because that was £3. And I was like, I am going to paint this black, and then I'm going to put it in everything I post on Instagram ever again. You know, like it was real kind of like that vibe. They had these really cute little velvet pumpkins that came in 4 sizes. And I'm not gonna lie, I was like, if I start picking these up, because they were in a really deep purple, green, blue, orange, and black, I was like, I'm going to need one of every color in every size. And I don't have that kind of pumpkin money. So
the pumpkin money will not cover that.
No. Actually, to be fair, it's probably a good thing that I went craft shopping after all my bills went out. So I've paid all like our utilities and stuff like this week. So it's when like money is tightest because all the bills have just gone out. And I was like, yeah, if I had done this last week, if I had gone shopping last week, I'm not entirely sure I'd be able to heat my house, but I would have loads of craft equipment. So
your pumpkins would keep you warm.
Inside.
Yeah.
The toddlers and children are dictating crafts and schedules and clean up. Do we have Hannah comments?
Kelly.
Yeah, Ali has this theory, and she's probably not wrong. And I feel like 2 out of the 3 of you know me quite well, so you might be able to confirm or deny. Ali doesn't think I know how to experience joy. So her theory is, so Ali has recommended me a whole bunch of really cute, fun middle grades, and I've given all of them 3 stars. Because they were fine. They just weren't my thing. But if a book makes me cry, it gets 5 stars immediately. And yeah, Ali made and it was a very like throwaway comment. It was just kind of like a joke of like Hannah doesn't know how to experience joy, probably about a year ago. And I have brought it up routinely ever since.
I mean, you do experience joy, but it's when there's like a girl murdering a lot of people in a book. So it's just a different form of joy.
Yeah, it's a darker joy, and that's fine.
Well, and it's like you might be looking for it in just like different places or different kinds of stories. Because I know people who like they do go to middle grade for just like really sweet and cozy and nothing bad ever happens. And then I know people like Olivia Savannah and I have talked about this, how like we really like middle grade that like deals with stuff, you know, which it can still be really fun and happy. But like I think that it's like some people read like romance, you know, for something that's going to be just really happy and you know nothing too bad is going to happen usually. And some people read middle grade for that. So it might just be that you're looking for joy in different kinds of things. Or
yeah, I think so. I love a romantic happy book. So ones where it's like I don't like necessarily like thriller romances. I like it's like, okay, they may have a bit of an argument, but really that's the extent of like the drama. And I love a spooky middle grade. Because I don't know if you guys, I mean, if you enjoy middle grade, as I know at least most of you do, I find that with middle grades, the authors care more about actually creating something that's legitimately spooky over just something that has jump scares and shock value. Like I find that they're a lot more insidious and they care about their audience a lot more because of it.
Yeah. Hannah, this is a great time to ask if you've read Frances Harding.
I don't think so.
Because she is great for like atmospheric spooky with great themes and character work. I feel like you would really love her books. Hannah and I have been on a mission because we've been hosting a read along and we're trying to get more people to read her. What's up, Kelly? Do you like her?
I'm busy reading Unraveler, which is the first book of hers that I've read. And I like it got sent to me for review. I hadn't asked for it. It just arrived, and then like I took it out with me one day and I was like, this is a little bit risky because what if I start reading this and I don't enjoy it and it's the only book that I have with me today? And from page 1 I was hooked. It's so good.
I'm so glad. That's the only one I haven't read yet. We're going to be doing it for our last live show, so I still need to read that one, but like I'm so glad you're enjoying her. I think she's so talented. I know she's like a little more popular in the UK because she's a British author, but I just feel like in general, she's pretty underhyped.
I'm currently in the process of Googling. That's what that really aggressive tapping is.
No, go for it.
Okay.
I feel like Unraveler is also going to end up being my first one because it is the one I have. And I feel like I need to get to it sooner rather than later, seeing the read along go on. But hopefully it'll still be a good.
What are you guys starting with read along?
It's actually our last one.
Okay, that's fine. That's usually what happens when I find something is go, it's over. Oh, good.
It happens to me all the time.
In which case, where would you recommend I start? Because I've never heard of this author before, so I'll be going in completely blind.
Oh, cool. So Hannah has been recommending Verdigris Deep as a good one to start with, which I think I would agree with. That one is more of a contemporary with spooky, and I think she does I think that is one of her really good, like, creepy ones. And then our 2 favorites are A Face Like Glass, which is really, like, dark whimsy, which she does really well, and then Gullstruck Island, which is more of a traditional fantasy world, I guess, but still like really interesting and really clever. Yes, Hannah, Verdigris Deep, I think, is a good one to start with.
Okay, cool. Right. Well, I'm not allowed to buy any books for the meantime because I try not to buy any books between Halloween and Christmas. And also, I'm not allowed to like replace too many books next year because I'm literally like I'm actively not making eye contact with Olivia right now.
Try not to buy books, did you say? I thought you were trying already.
Yeah, about that. So Olivia challenged me in the best possible way that next year we're going to see who can clear more books off their shelves. And basically, the plan is to not buy as many. Like, Olivia's on a book buying ban anyway, because she's better than I am. I can't do that. But yeah, so it's going to be a whole thing where we try and see who can clear the most books from their TBR. And I don't think we haven't really clarified whether it's just by reading them or if it's just a case of, because like you and I are very prone to like a good DNF.
I have in my head that because it can't be depending on size of TBR, that we both start at 0. So if we read something or unhaul it, you get 1 point. But if you haul something, you minus a point. So you can go into negative even. And then it's who has the highest number by the end of the year.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Buying bans can be difficult.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out a way that I can, because my problem is that if I break something that I'm trying to do, then I'll be like, well, it doesn't matter, I can do what I want. And it's like, that is not a good way to do anything in life.
No, but like it's understandable because I tell you what, I've done that so many times.
Yeah.
The problem is, and like bringing back to Ali's comment earlier that I survive on spite, I really do. Because the last time I did a book buying ban was when my brother told me that I couldn't go 100 days without buying a book, and I was like, watch me. And like he not only that, he was like, well, I'd say put your money where your mouth is, and he basically bet me £100 I couldn't go 100 days without buying a book. And I knew what I was going to spend those £100 on. Like, I knew.
Yeah.
The problem is I did the 100 days, didn't buy a single book, was super, super proud of myself. And this was right when I first started BookTube as well. So I only had the books that I'd like previously bought and was like trying to buy into BookTube anyway and like catch up on popular books so I could have opinions. The downside to that was the ban ended and I spent £400 on books in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So book buying bans just don't work for me because I can't be trusted. Like I just can't be trusted. Yeah. So it's one of those ones where I especially now I've got a bookshop as well. Like there's no point me doing a book buying ban because it just wouldn't work and I'd end up punishing myself and actually making it worse. I'm much better off doing what I'm doing now, which is not putting them on my TBR, even though I've bought them, as like it's an incentive, it's there, but without the vilifying of actually buying it. But next year, if I buy it, it doesn't matter whether it's going on my TBR or not. It's going to cost me points. So
I do tend to love a hard book buying ban because after I've stopped buying books for a long enough time, it's like the habit is gone, the want is gone, and then it's easy. But as soon as my ban is over, I'm going to segue right back into my book buying budget, because if I don't, then I might end up spending too much on books all at once. But I'm hoping to hopefully not do that, especially as the challenge will be underway. And I love to win, and I will win. I don't do that as much as Hannah does, but I do like to win.
I was raised in such a competitive household. It's not even funny. And the thing is, like, my mum is not very competitive at all. It's almost exclusively my dad and my dad's side of the family, and we're all very competitive. And it's one of these, I was talking to my friend Celine about this yesterday because she was like, oh, like if someone forced me to go to the gym, like they could put a gun to my head and I wouldn't go. And I was like, yeah, because you and I are brats. Like if you tell us to do something, we won't do it. If you dare me that I like, or try and like tell me that I couldn't do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it just to spite you. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So my problem with with having a book buying ban is I think in the last 3 years I've maybe bought like 20 books, but I just get them.
Mm-hmm.
So like, being a reviewer and then also working on books, I easily would say I've accumulated like 100 books this year that I have not paid for.
Yeah.
Like I physically get this. I know that this is such a first world problem. Like I know I'm not gonna get any sympathy for this, but like
Not from me anyway.
I literally get them faster than I can read them, and like I'm.
But I think there is a level of pressure
come.
there though.
I feel like that has been a good caveat for my book buying ban, and I'm just hoping I can peel back on it next year because but working in publishing, lots of books are available, and also I know you're a bookseller. We send so many books to booksellers. So
yeah, I don't get any free books at the moment. I haven't had a single arc through Waypoint Books yet. I haven't really asked for any, but I haven't specifically requested any as a bookseller because I'm not part of the Booksellers Association, so I don't know if that's like relevant. But I haven't done anything about that yet. But I've met up with 3 separate Hodder Stoughton editors who've all like really liked my shop and like have told me like, oh yeah, drop me an email and we'll add you to our proof list. Not heard back yet. So I'm gonna follow up. There was one that I met at Yelk that I need to follow up with because that was the most recent one. She was really lovely. So I just need to. It's just and its timing's awkward as well because when I've met them, it's either been just before Christmas or it's been like whilst I'm out, and it's like I don't have any of my stuff with me.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if I can show you, but that is my island.
Aw, I love that.
It's also like I've written 10K of my novel. This is not the directions I've given people, so there will be some rewriting, I think. But I quite like this design the most.
Well, this is the pumpkin D20 thus far.
I love that.
It's so cute.
I love the colours as well. I do like those colours.
The colours work quite nicely. And actually, the marker pen is saving it. I don't know what happened here. We lost our way a little bit here, but that's fine. I might be able to fix it.
This is my thing.
I love that so much. I love that so much. Okay, well, yeah, I'm working on
knitting,
turning this into a D20 dice, but it's starting as a pumpkin.
You have knitting. How's it going?
It's going really well. Like I started this like for our live show, and so I'm making pretty good progress. It's a really quick project to do, which I think is good because like I want to get back into knitting more consistently. And I think what happened is that I was so stressed out by the really complicated projects that I haven't finished that I just wasn't doing anything because I was feeling like I shouldn't start something. And so by starting something, I think I'm like, I don't know, I think this is good for like actually knitting consistently again. We'll see. I go in phases where it's like I'll do it like obsessively for like a few months and then I will hit some kind of wall, usually my own fault because again, I stopped doing a project when I should just finish it and then I won't touch it for like 6 months. So I'd like some consistency. That would be nice.
That would be nice.
Okay, I've got to ask, what is the first read everyone started the readathon with? If you started your first read yet, or like if you know what it's going to be.
I haven't made my TBR yet. That is tomorrow morning's baby. Either during Hannah's sprints or just before, I'm going to actually play the game and film my TBR. But despite the fact that I have no prompts, I already have 4 books on my October TBR, so I love that for me. I'm just assuming that I'm going to be able to make all of them work for Gothtober.
That's fair.
But I haven't actually started anything.
Do you have one you're most excited for?
I've got Babel on my TBR, so I'm very excited for that. And also I have Belladonna by an author, which I was excited about already, but then I saw it pitched as Bridgerton meets Knives Out, and now I'm obsessed.
Interesting.
So yeah, I'm keen for those two.
I'm starting Beyond the Black Door tomorrow and hopefully finishing for the start to finish sprints. But because I will probably read something this evening when I'm done being artsy, I'm thinking of either picking up the X Hex or Go Hex Yourself, because my first Gothtober vlog is going to be all of the witchy romances that I have. So I'm just going to try and like work my way through those, because I'm pretty sure they'll be quite easy reads. And having just finished Mia Sosa's The Wedding Crasher, I'm in the mood for some more romantic banter. I'm just in the mood for that. So here for it.
I really liked Beyond the Black Door when I read it. I know it's like gotten kind of mixed reviews, but I thought it was really good. So
well, good. I'm pleased, because I'm excited for it. I loved The Ravenous Stark, so I'm really excited for kind of any extension of that, really.
I need to read more of her stuff, because I know she's got that one, and then I think she has another one coming out kind of soon, maybe I'm thinking of next year, but yeah, I definitely want to read more stuff by her. Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I just live with Goodreads open, so I can just get
I do too. I always have that tab open.
Lots of people reading Belladonna.
Belladonna and Babel in TBRs this year have been really, really popular.
I'm currently reading Babel as well. I'm pretty much on the same page as you. The book club is on Monday, but I've given up hope. It will not be finished.
It's Court of Undying Seasons, and it comes out on May 16th, 2023.
Okay.
Which is very exciting. Okay, I've made this pumpkin a very strange shape. I don't know how I'm going to turn it back into a dice. It now just kind of looks like a raspberry, but orange.
It kind of looks like an acorn, which is also very fall appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to turn this back into a dice. In my head, it was going to look like a very specific thing, and then I've just Anyway, sorry.
It still looks good. It's still going.
Yeah,
it's still good.
I have not.
Oh, sorry. I was going to ask what you were starting with.
I have not started one officially yet, because I was rushing to finish a book last night that I needed to finish. But I think my first read is going to be, is it Empty Smiles by Catherine Arden, which is the last book in her Small Spaces series, which is another really fun, spooky middle grade series. And I've been buddy reading the whole series with my friend Katie. So we're starting that today. And I think it's like the shortest in the series. It's like only 200 pages, I think. So depending on how fast we want to go, like I feel like I could finish that in like really soon. So I'll need to pick out something else soon, but I'm excited for it.
I feel like the last book in a series is usually the longest one. So
yeah. And I have been hearing, like, I've heard good things about it overall, but I do remember a few people saying, actually Kelly might have said this, I don't remember, that it felt a little too short, like given how much it was wrapping up, it felt a little rushed. So I'm trying to prepare myself for that, but I think it's going to be good.
Nice. And I've started with The Name of the Wind, which, because I've been deep cleaning, I started it this morning and I'm halfway through.
That's impressive.
Oh my god.
So what are you doing it as an audiobook then?
I am. I've listened to 7 hours today.
That is impressive. That is really impressive.
A lot of cleaning. I'm going to get my deposit back because my flat is spotless.
Are you enjoying it?
I am loving it, and I did not expect it at all.
I did not see that coming.
I didn't either. I would not have thought you would.
It's one of the oldest books on my TBR, and I got it mostly because of the hype at the time. And I don't know, I feel like it's just very character driven, and that's what I don't usually expect from that kind of fantasy. And with it just being like this one character and you end up liking him and then you follow him through, it's great. It is told in flashbacks, which I usually hate. I'm loving it. I'm loving the parts in the present and the past. Nothing has happened, but things are still making me happy. I'm very confused.
I'm glad it's going so well. I do not plan to read that one, but I'm surprised you're liking it, but that's great.
I think that is a good choice for you.
I think I would hate it. Yeah. I think I would not like the main male character, I think. And the quotes I've heard about like the female characters, I'm like, so maybe not.
There's not really been many female characters. They've all been quite secondary inside. And I'm okay with that because it doesn't. Sorry if you can hear those sirens. I'm okay with that because I'm like, at least then they don't have too much airtime to get things very wrong.
Right.
But I am also reading A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin alongside this. And I think because it's so rubbish with the female representation in comparison, this is gliding by in comparison.
Yeah, I get that. Sometimes it just takes like comparing it with something else and you're like, this is not that bad actually. Like,
the thing is though, that works the other way as well when you're like, I thought this was good and then I read this and it's the same thing but better.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm also reading Babel, which is like fantasy dark academia, and some like female main characters turned up and I was like, woman in dark academia? No way. And
what is it?
Yeah, it was Kelly who said that to you, Cara. About it going too fast. I like it. I do like it. Hannah.
It's not my favourite thing I've ever done. Really in my head I thought it was going to be better than that, but that's fine.
I feel like Northanger Abbey should definitely fit something because it's literally like her most topic.
Yes.
Ooh, lots of middle grade.
I have so many, like, I just filmed my ridiculously ambitious October TBR yesterday, and like so many of them are like spooky middle grade. I'm like really excited for it because this is the kind of spookiness I can get on board with.
I do need to read some more. Were you going to say something, Kelly?
Oh, I don't know if my thing's going to be straight, but I'm just reminding myself to the fact that this might be rubbish. And that's okay.
That's okay.
I'm just like pinning it on with a hope.
That's gonna look good. I believe in all of our crafts today. I have lots of faith in them.
Like, you wouldn't say that I did sewing as like a high school subject.
I am not good at sewing. Like, I am very impressed with the people who can do even like basic. I mean, I guess I can do some basic stuff, but I try to avoid it whenever possible. It was not, my skills lie in other areas, I think.
I was going to ask everyone what location they chose for the game to get their prompts, but some to be pending, to be decided. Or do you kind of know what the three options are, Kelly? Or is it going to be...
I started watching someone's TBR, so I did see what they were, and in the moment I thought I would choose this one, but I don't remember what they were. So if you remind me what they are, I'll be able to tell you which one I would have chosen.
Do you want to know, or do you want to go in surprised and then like make your choice in your video?
It's fine, I can know. Because I have seen them, I've just forgotten.
I was going to say, I feel like all of the TBRs people have either screen shared, like I straight up just read the entire dialogue and was like, yeah, everyone's going to know this now. So I feel like surprise is probably going to be quite minimal.
I'm good with knowing.
So the options are Summer Camp, Derelict Warehouse, and Gothic Mansion.
Obviously Gothic Mansion.
I could see that for you with your book club.
You mean the book club that I've just done nothing with the whole year?
Now, I have been angling for a catch up with Kelly for ages so that we can discuss it, but I feel like I could call you out in a public forum. Kelly, what's going on with that? I'm joking. Like I every time I do like a vlog clip where I'm like, oh, an elemental library, which I really want to get back into because I've still got all the books that we had set out for this year. Haven't read any past like June. And like Kelly and I spoke about doing like another live show, but maybe doing them less frequently and like doing 2 or 3 books in one go. And then you started having rolling blackouts and all sorts of things. So I say I'm publicly calling her out. I'm not really.
The thing is, like, I can plan to do stuff, and I know when my blackouts will potentially be. Like, I know what the worst case scenario is, but inevitably the worst case scenario means that I will have something, like I will be out in the evening at some point. So I can't even plan for something like that with the worst case scenario in mind, because then I just can't plan anything. But then I also can't plan stuff with not the worst case. I can't plan something like a live show with not the worst case scenario in mind, because it might just change halfway through the day and the worst case scenario might become a reality. We had a 4-hour blackout 2 weeks ago. That was a fun time.
Why are the blackouts happening? Because they're scheduled.
So we simply just do not have enough electricity. So every now and then we normally, like every couple months, I'd say about once a month we'll have like a week of them, and then every couple of months we'll have it for like 2-3 weeks at a time. Sometimes it's because like a power station's blown up, so then they have to divert power for the rest of the country to help save that area where it's blown up. Sometimes the coal gets wet. I'm just saying, I live in South Africa. We have like water galore, we have sun galore, we have wind galore, but we're still relying on coal for energy. Anyway, this is where all of our problems come from. Yeah, sometimes the coal gets wet, so then we can't burn it to make electricity. And then sometimes we're just using it faster than we can produce it. So I'm actually really lucky because I'm in Cape Town. So there's a dam where they do produce some hydroelectric power. So normally we're like a level below the rest of the country. So if the rest of the country is off for like 6 hours a day, we'll only be off for 4 hours a day. But I think the dam's under maintenance at the moment. And then also sometimes they'll say, oh, you'll be on like stage 1, which means you might have it off for 2 hours, but like probably like we might also have nothing. And then halfway through the day they'll go, oh, the electricity usage has spiked. Now you'll be on stage 3, which means you'll be off for 6 hours. So yeah, it's a lot of fun living here.
That sounds really frustrating, especially as with what you said about them having different types of options and just sticking with coal.
Do you know how there are so many wind farms in this country? You cannot go on like an interprovincial trip without seeing a wind farm, but they just haven't hooked the wind farms up to anything. So like the turbines are running, but they're just not actually producing anything because they just haven't connected them.
That's insane.
Like I genuinely believe, I'm not a scientist, but I genuinely believe this whole country could be running on solar power because like it is sunny all the time, even in winter. Yeah. What a time to be alive.
I feel like I should insert here with a spooky question. Let me see what I've got. Wow.
Well, I think I was the only one that answered the location question.
Of course. What did you go for, Cara, on the location options?
I also did the Gothic Mansion one, and I paused your announcement so that I could go and take it so that I would be surprised by the prompts. So like, because I was thinking ahead, but yeah, I also chose Gothic Mansion.
And Hannah?
I did my derelict warehouse because that was my suggestion, and I thought I would be traitorous to myself if I didn't. But if I read my TBR, I'm going back for the summer camp because I, knowing what prompts are behind the summer camp one, like, I would have really liked that one.
You want the protocols,
which is what it is. Do you know what? It was why I felt so smug last year, because I loved the angel prompts and I loved the demon prompts, and the fact that I got to cherry pick either for the death team, it was amazing.
I did a similar thing where I chose the Gothic Mansion because I had to, but I am going to go back for the summer camp prompts, I think, if I can read my way through. But I did play it all 3 times. So I played Derelict Warehouse and I played Summer Camp as well for the lols.
I love how many people have replayed it, because Kieran is able to see the stats of it. So the game has been viewed over 2,000 times. It has been played on over 1,000 different servers. Like different IP addresses, not servers. Yeah. So it's really funny because I was like, please tell me you told your uni that this is a thing that you made. He's like, oh, well, I put it on our group Discord, but no one said anything. Oh. I was like, well, everyone on my internet thinks it's amazing.
Yes, we do.
He's struggling a bit at the moment because student finance have royally messed him over, and basically they haven't registered him for student finance, which means that the university want him to pay it in full.
That is a mess.
And it sucks. Thankfully, my mum has some money saved that is meant to be going onto a house deposit. So she has the money, but they're going to have to like recoup it from somewhere else. And it was very much a, hey, the world's burning, we should probably keep this fund that's now going on that. And it's just, it really sucks because he's worked so hard on that course and he's doing so well. And the uni basically were like, yeah, you're not allowed to turn up until you've paid. Thankfully, his lecturers are lovely, and they were like, yeah, turn up anyway.
Thanks.
Because it's like it's the uni that's the issue, not the uni like lecturers or anything. So yeah, but it just when he was like, yeah, I put it on the Discord, no one said anything. I was like, well, that's just rude because we all think it's amazing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it was really funny because, again, talking to him about it, his mentality of it was, well, it's a really straightforward game. It's really simple. It's really easy. That's why no one cares about it. And I'm like, no other readathon has a game to play. Like, that's already really cool.
I feel like you can still put it on, like, CV, even if he doesn't talk about how he made the game, if it's relatively basic in terms of game makers. But just for the, like, stats and the reach of it and being like, I can make something that everybody loves. Look at this.
Yeah, well, I sent him a voice note. I might play the voice note to you guys because I got real like big sister about it. Also, I went back and made some more pumpkins the same way I made the other ones, and these are just cute. I'm very pleased with these pumpkins.
They are cute.
I really like playing with these markers.
I think another thing that's impressive about the game is, like you were saying, that's not a standard thing for readathons. So even though the game itself is not overly complicated, the fact that, like, you know, it's an innovation in this kind of niche, like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my thought. Because I like, and Olivia will know this, I like to make things more complicated for myself than they need to be. But I like being able to offer something that is going to bring something new to people. Because I think with there being so many readathons, it can be quite overwhelming if you want to pick loads for like to be like involved with all your friends and stuff. And then Halloween especially, I don't know what it is about Halloween, but we love a spooky readathon, and having something that's like themed like that is very, very popular. So then it's just a case of like, okay, but what can I do that no one else can do that's still going to be fun, that's not going to overwhelm people? And like Olivia will attest to this, the group chat of us hosts is no one's reading for this readathon, right? Like we're all just going to chill out and not read anything. We're all just going to like hang out and not do anything, right? Because we don't want to put pressure on people. There is no reading tracker. There's no like minimum required or anything like that. It's just a spooky good time.
Yeah. sorry, go ahead, Olivia.
Oh, I was going to just say, not to bark up our own tree, but one of the reasons I like Gothtober is that in October, a lot of them are Halloween focused. And as someone who doesn't celebrate Halloween, it just feels like it's a nice way to be included as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I feel like there's like a real trend, maybe not so much now, but like pretty recently, there was a trend for these like super competitive team readathons. And I would never feel like I could do those because like I can't do competitive things because I am so competitive. It's like if I try and participate in one of those, I will like I'm only going to have a good time if I win, which is a flaw in my character, but that's just like how I am.
But you know what? You're in good company here. That is exactly what I'm like.
It's really nice to have some that like can be more chill, you know, even if they do have teams. So I really appreciate it because like like basically if there's one where you have to log your points, I don't do it. Like even for like Aurelium, I don't log any of my books because it's like I don't want to feel like my team lost. So
yeah,
also
no,
I would need to actually decide my team ahead of time, which I also haven't done. But yeah, so I'm a fan of this structure for a readathon.
Yeah, no, for sure. And because I think I get it, because like it's in the name, isn't it? Like a thon, it's going to be some kind of competition. But I'm very competitive with reading with myself. I actively try not to make it a competition with other people, which is why we had the 3 teams last year. Was the whole point that we're going to have teams, there's going to be games, and there is going to be like a level of competition, but there's also this team in the middle that's just it's neutral. Like if you don't want to, and I had to be in charge of that team because I knew what I'd be like if I was in charge of one of the other teams. Like, and it's not. I don't think it makes me a bad person to be competitive. It's just not my nicest side, and we'll leave it at that. Like it's that, you know.
Yeah, and I also just find that it's a lot less fun for me. Like, and possibly for people involved in something with me, but it's like if I'm thinking about. Like if I start pinning my enjoyment of whatever I'm doing on how I do, I'm just not going to have nearly as much fun. It's like I have enough self-imposed stress in other parts of my life. I don't need to bring this to reading as well.
That is a mood. But I nearly ruined reading for myself when I challenged myself to read 300 books in a year. Like I straight up nearly ruined reading for myself. And what annoys me wasn't the fact that I made reading so stressful that I knew that I had to hit 25 books a month to like hit my goal, was the knock-on effect it had this January where I only read like 6 books. I say only read, and that in itself is like evidence of what I'm trying to say, is the fact that I read 6 books and was like, well, that's not good enough. It's like, for who? Yeah. Who cares? Like it doesn't, like who am I competing against? Like, and there were people that were hitting 300-400 books on Goodreads, and I was like, well, they can do it, why can't I? And it's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like they haven't done that to spite me. Like, why? Let it go.
Yeah.
Although next year I am going to try and read 300 books again next year, but that's just so that I can beat Olivia.
You would beat me clearly with less than 300. I'm not reading more than like, no way am I even reaching 200 in a year. No,
that's fair.
I
mean, you've got a proper office job, so. Oh, do you know what is so? Yeah, this is true. So Lizzie and I live together, and I love living with Lizzie. This week has been so boring without her, but that's because I'm an older sibling and I really like winding her up. But also she's very, very funny and she's very competitive. And because I'm also a competitive person, I know just what to say to really like bring that out of her. And she was talking about how close she was to hitting 100 books a couple of months ago. And I think she was like a few books ahead of me and she was being really smug about it. And I went, it's fine though, because I'm going to hit 100 before you do. And that was it. Without it even necessarily being spoken, it became this whole thing where which of us was going to hit 100 first. And she reads so quickly. Like, it's unfair how quickly Lizzie reads. And she gets really self-conscious about it, but she reads real fast. So when other people have been like, oh, it's been a 40-minute sprint, I read 20 pages. She'll be like, oh, I read 120 pages. And it's like, how? Like, how did you do that? And then she'll be like, oh, it's a middle grade, or oh, it's a fantasy. And I'm like, all right. So she was reading really, really quickly. And there was a point where she was about 6 books ahead of me. And she was only like 3 books away from hitting 100. So I just read every graphic novel I own. And I have no regrets, except I felt really bad for like 5 minutes afterwards. Because my favourite bit was when she was a couple of books ahead of me, but then I finished a couple of books in a day because I have a tendency to read more than one book.
Oh, yeah.
I'll keep picking. I'll read 30 pages, then I'll put it down, and I won't see it for a year. Then I'll pick it up again later. But she'd read ahead of me, and then I had managed to finish 2 books in a day. And she came downstairs and was like being all smug about having like reading ahead of me. And I was like, oh, have you? And that was it. Again, it was just like really like so passive aggressive of me. But watching her face go from being like really smug to not smug at all was my favorite thing. And I know she'll have instances where she's done that to me as well. Like, because we're as bad as each other, which is probably why we get on so well. But yeah. The TLDR version of that is Hannah is a bully.
I was just telling you about how I like literally have to remove the possibility of competition for myself. So no judgment here.
Well, this is the thing, is I seek it out. Like I don't. It's one of those things where I'm like, if there's like an actual competition, I will step away because I will be the worst. But yeah, I can't help it. If there's like even a hint of a challenge, and if someone's being smug about something, like my inherent thing is to be like, okay, even if it's just like a jokey thing, if I know that I'm not actually as good as they are at something, if someone's being like really smug about something, and it is smugness as opposed to like confidence, because they're like, for me, I think there is a difference. If someone's like being confident about something they've done, I'm not going to be like nasty about it,
right?
But like, yeah, if someone's going to be like, oh, I read like 200 books this year, and I'll be like, oh, I read 225 last year, catch up. Like it'll be like that.
I'm more like, if I don't see myself winning, I'm not competitive. So yeah. If someone was like, there's a maths quiz, I'd be like, oh, no, I'm not, don't need to go against you. But then if it was like, I don't know, writing X amount of words in an hour, I'd be like, okay, I can see that I can win. And therefore my competition level like rises a lot. But if I think I'm not going to be good at it, I will just fully have no investment whatsoever.
Oh, that's kind of how I am too. Is like, I will not like put myself up for competition if I don't think there's like a good chance I'll win.
Anything like remotely physical, I'm just like, okay, there's no point in me having any stakes in this. But anything that's like an intellectual challenge, so like a pub quiz, or I went on a work conference, okay, and we did a book quiz, and I contested one of the answers. I went out in a round, and I contested the answer, was put into the final, and went on to win.
Amazing.
Because the question was, what's the 5th Narnia book? And obviously there are 2 ways of looking at the series.
That's a bad question.
So his answer was like, I think like his answer was like the right one in publication order, but not chronologically. And I was working on the box set of books. They are numbered. So then I went to him after the round, and I was like, I went out in this round because I got this question wrong. But look, here is the box set of the books. This is why I said this was book 5. And he was like, okay, just for that, I'll put you in the final. And then I won.
Yeah. I am
that level of petty. But yeah, like if you put me at like a sports thing, I'm just like, well, I'm going to lose. I'm not even going to try.
I used to be really athletic, so that used to be absolutely my bag. And like, I remember once, again, it comes down to being smug. And I think this is the thing. I spent a lot of time with boys in my youth because I am the only girl on my dad's side of the family. And I only have one cousin on my mum's side of the family. It's a girl. And we really like never really saw each other growing up. And then going to an all-girls school didn't really like make much of a difference until I started hanging out with a lot of the comprehensive kids where it's like a lot of boys, and I played rugby. So I was around boys all the time, and they will find competition in anything, these boys. And it was just it could be literally like walking, who can walk fastest down the street, like things like that. Like it was so ridiculous. And I remember once I went to like a friend's birthday party, and they had like a massive like football setup where it was like a massive like inflatable goal, and I wasn't allowed to play because I was a girl. And I just remember being like, oh, I'm going to play and I'm going to beat you. Like that's how this is going to be. And like, yeah, because I was playing rugby at the time, like it wasn't really an issue. And I remember I went to watch two of the schools play rugby against each other because I had friends in both teams. And because I was playing rugby for southeast of England at the time, so I was quite like high up, and they were just not very good because they're school teams, and I was getting like really leery and just like kind of shouting with my friends and stuff. And the coach came over to me at one point and was just like, you can either put some boots on and go play, or you can shut up. And I was like, give me boots and I will play. And like all of my friends were just like, don't do that because we'll lose. Like, don't do that. It was really funny.
I hated, I don't know if you guys' schools did this, but like the number of times in like a PE class or any kind of class where they would need to do teams and they're like, let's do girls versus boys. I hated that because inevitably it becomes like a referendum on like if girls can be as good as boys. And it just like, that's like what I'm talking about is like, if something is competitive, I care too much about it. It's like, because all the boys were like jerks about it if they won. So of course we're like highly motivated to prove that like women are people or whatever. It just like, it's such a lazy thing for teachers to do, and I hated it.
Well, the other one is when they like let the two most sporty girls, like whatever, would pick the team. Is like, because obviously we didn't have like versus boys in an all girls school. You would have like, you'd have the two teachers' pets that got to choose. Yes. And like if you weren't picked in the first like 10 choices, like it was not a good day for you. Like it was just like you were not, you know, and it was, girls can be so mean. Like it was just yeah, so it was one of those things. But like, yeah, stuff like that, especially like having taught for 5 years, it is such lazy teaching, in the same way that like you're encouraged as a teacher to put boys and girls next to each other on a seating plan, because a boy's attention will increase if he sat next to a girl. Like he'll get on with his work better. But a girl's attention will decrease because inevitably the boy will distract her instead of doing his work. And it's like, well, why should her grades be affected because he doesn't want to work?
Yep.
That just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, so it's one of those things where like competition is just institutional. Like I don't feel like I can really escape it. And that is why I just allow it as part of my personality.
It's a defense mechanism.
That's a good conclusion. At our school, they made it so that teachers always picked the teams. There was no people picking. There was no boys against girls. It was just teachers randomly mixing it up every gym session. And that was quite nice. And then also our gym teacher, it wasn't a rule, had a habit of dropping a game. So because the teams were always mixed, if it ended up starting to look like boys were only passing to boys, or boys had passed to each other too much, it'd be like, that game's dropped, next team's in, or like, now we need to change it a bit.
I like that.
It never became too much of that, which was nice, which was a nice thing. I'm very close to finishing my novel plan. I'm getting very excited, but I still have a lot of notes to write up.
I have switched to working on captions because I'm really behind.
The fun stuff.
Yeah.
I want to check in with everybody. How's crafts going? In the comments, how are you doing? How's the pumpkins?
I'm starting to like do some pen. You can't see it because it's too bright. I was saying to Olivia before we started, I've got my ring light in front of me and it's too bright. But if I don't have it on, it looks really weird because the main light is behind me. But when I turn the main light off, I do straight up look like a vampire. I'm not like a fun vampire. I just look creepy.
Like the weird vampire.
Like,
Yeah.
We'll do it because it's funny. And also, I've just realised that I made myself tea like an hour and a half ago, and I haven't drunk it, so now I'm sad.
Oh no.
I'm the missing Cullen.
You look like Edward Cullen when he pulls up to school to make friends with Bella. Like,
my favourite thing is, so I've got like, this has got like different colours on it. So let's see if I can get it to. Is it gonna work? It isn't gonna work now. Oh.
Also, you're fans of your pumpkins,
aren't they? Yeah, they're cute.
It's not even changing colour now, so it's just going. Yeah, it just looks. I just look bizarre. I just look really bizarre.
I have made good progress on my. I don't know if you can see like the cables.
This is like,
oh, that's cool.
It wasn't there before, and now it's just there.
But
I'm just impressed with knitting. Like,
oh, thanks. I enjoy it. Yeah. So I'm feeling good about that. So it's like time to get some captions done.
how is Ben Solo coming along?
I have a P so far. So yeah, I've just resigned myself to the fact that it's probably going to be skew, and I'm going to be okay with that.
Yes.
You know what? No one else is going to have that jumper. It's going to be just you because, you know, you and Ben Solo, you have something really meaningful, and that's really important.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be able to wear it for like another 8 months because it is like a properly warm, fleecy jumper inside. So I'm just going to watch it sit in my cupboard and cry.
I mean, you could also take like 100 photos with it, just like that and books, because you do quite nice like aesthetic books. I feel like you could work it in somewhere.
This is true.
You've got enough. Like, I feel like you've probably got enough like Raylo fic books that you can recommend that you could do a photo with that.
I mean, I only own one of them, although...
have you not got Go Hex Yourself yet?
I haven't, but it has arrived in Alan's shop, so I'm going to get it soon.
Excellent.
Or I might read it and then decide if I'm going to buy it. Because that's an option I have.
That's fair, because I'm reading mine this week. At some point.
Ooh, you make a good point. That would be good for... Okay, yeah, I'll prioritize this one. I'm excited. I did request it, but I don't think Penguin cares about it at all. I don't think they're sending out promo copies. It is not on anyone's radar here except mine.
That's fair. I mean, you're going to help get it onto people's radars, so.
We also have autumn flavored tea. And that sounds glorious.
That sounds really delicious. I got sent a Christmas box that I found the other day, and I was like, I really need to try some of these, and I just haven't yet. But they've got like a gingerbread chai one that I'm like, I've been obsessed with chai, so I'm like, I might go make one of these.
I did have my first gingerbread man ever last week Sunday, and it was not a nice experience.
No, they're super fun to decorate and not that fun to eat. Like, they just, I don't know. It's like a fun activity, but they're not like an actually great tasting cookie, in my opinion, because they have to be like really stale for it to take decoration well. So it's like you can either eat them fresh or you can like decorate them, but I feel like
there is no in between.
Yeah, really.
I quite like gingerbread dough. Like if it's raw, I quite like it. Or if it's just come out of the oven, so it's like just like warm and gooey and it hasn't set properly yet. I quite like that. And I think I just like ginger and cinnamon as a combo.
I love ginger and cinnamon, but I don't think I like it in. I'm just going to say
cookie form. Was it the cookie itself? Because I find that a lot of like Sainsbury's have burnt me before by literally burning their gingerbread cookies before, and you can taste, like, even if they don't look burnt, if they're overcooked and like they snap as well, then I'm just like, this is hard work, and a biscuit should never be hard work.
Anyway, I was going to ask actually, what are your like favorite autumnal drinks now that it's colder and warm drinks are a thing? What is your go-to?
There's a apple, cinnamon, and vanilla flavored tea that we get here that I really enjoy. But also, it is currently summer for me. So
Right.
I literally said that and I was thinking, what in the hemispheres?
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I drink tea year round. But yeah, I particularly like that one in the colder months.
I am pretty much a fan of like most seasonal hot drinks. Like I love cocoa. I like coffee and tea. I also really love hot cider. I feel like hot cider should be more societally appropriate, or like I feel like it's still kind of like a random thing you'll get sometimes, and it's like I want us as a community to be more inclusive of hot cider because I like.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I love a hot cider, and it isn't. It's like one of those things where you get to have it for like 3 weeks at Christmas, and that's it.
Yes, the people want it.
Give the people what they want.
Oh, what is that? Mulled wine. I like mulled wine. I thought that's one.
I've had mulled wine that I liked.
But tea is like my obvious answer, but I drink that all round, so I'm going to say
same.
It's not going to count. But I love a good hot chocolate, especially white hot chocolate. And an exciting thing was when I went to high tea once, and they had really randomly on their menu rum flavored hot chocolate, and it was like hot chocolate and rum, and it was the best thing ever. I have no idea why that was in their high tea menu, but it was great.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, no, I'm a fan of high tea. I like my hot drinks to come with cake and sandwiches. That's amazing. I do also preferable. I like tea. I drink tea a lot, which is why I'm so surprised that I forgot this. I think because I made it so that I could pour it just before we began, and then I was too busy stressing out about my D20. So that will be very overbrewed now because I like a strong tea. So I use like a Builder's Tetley extra strong tea. But when it gets colder, putting whipped cream in a hot chocolate feels so decadent. I just love that. That's like my little treat to myself. But if you like mulled cider and you like cinnamon, I would recommend Fireball whiskey and apple juice as a combo, because it tastes like apple pie. It's like even though the drink itself is cold, it has a warming effect because it's whiskey. It's got cinnamon in it and then apple juice. And the problem is it's really sweet and you can't really taste the alcohol and it goes down a treat.
That's the thing. Like one of my favorites, I don't drink super often, but like one of my favorites is like the peach Bellini, and that tastes so good, but it really does not taste like you're drinking alcohol. So it's like you've got to be careful with those. Like like I said, I don't drink a lot anyway, but like it's unnerving when you're drinking something and you're like, I know there's a lot of alcohol in this and it tastes like juice. Like
Yeah, I remember I was maybe 13 years old and my parents were hosting a New Year's Eve party. And my parents, they used to host a lot more parties, not even like necessarily like before COVID, but when we were much younger. But I remember when I was 13, there was like this bowl of punch in the middle of the table. And I knew we were told we weren't allowed to drink the punch, but no one said anything about the fruit that was in it. And obviously fruit absorbs all the alcohol. So like me and my brother were just straight up like scoffing this fruit, thinking we were being really sneaky. And then my brother was very, very ill. And like I think he was sick everywhere. And I just remember one of my dad's really like burly northern friends just being like, your youngin's just chucked up all over the floor. It's just like, and my mom was just like, what has he eaten? Like my mom thought he'd like eaten something bad, that everyone was going to be sick. And we were like, no, we've just been helping ourselves to the fruit.
Oh my gosh. That's one of those things though that like, yeah, kids wouldn't know that like drinking or eating the fruit that's been soaking up alcohol would be a bad thing. So it's like, I understand why that happened. Like, nobody would think to warn about that.
Yeah. My parents were trying to get us to eat more fruit. Like I thought that would be
make up your mind, you guys.
Pick a lane.
Now I'm in trouble for eating fruit. I just can't keep up.
Right? There's no winning here. I am going to go make myself a hot drink though, but I'm going to let you guys decide because I want to try one of my Believe in You elf ones because I'm allowed to drink these until August of next year, so they are still in date, even though I got them for Christmas last year. So we have gingerbread chai, is one of them. We have a snowball, which is Sri Lankan black tea with coconut and cocoa, which is interesting. We've then got Fairy Tale of New York, which is a tea inspired by Irish coffee. It's going to be interesting because I don't really like coffee. That could be an interesting one to try. We've got mulled cider, which I feel like is going to be a strong contender. Peppermint cocoa, and then salted caramel Lebkuchen. Lebkuchen.
I'm really bad at hearing letters and then spelling the thing.
Like, it looks like Lebkuchen. Lebkuchen. I don't know. But it's a traditional German gingerbread dipped in decadent salted caramel. So it sounds like it's a mixture of that and the gingerbread chai one.
I would vote for the Sri Lankan coconut one. That one sounds really good.
I am going to vote for the gingerbread chai because we have talked about chai and we have talked about gingerbread.
That's true.
I'm voting for peppermint cocoa because mint and chocolate is my favorite flavor combination.
Okay, great. Okay, so that's narrowed it down from 6 to 3.
The Roberts needs to help. Also, maybe the Lebkuchen is a type of German.
Yeah, I think they are. I think that's what it says, that it's based on. Yeah, traditional German gingerbread dipped in decadent salted caramel. So I think it must be a biscuit that it's based on. But it's a Burden blend. So I know they're going to be tasty regardless. I'm just excited to try them.
So these are all teas, right? So the peppermint cocoa is not cocoa, it's peppermint cocoa flavored tea.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're all flavored teas as opposed to... So like even the gingerbread chai is going to be like tea. The peppermint hot chocolate is not. That's a hot chocolate. The other two are both teas.
Okay.
Although a snowball is a festive tea latte.
Kelly, I have to be real careful about caffeine too. I'm sad because I had this really good chai kind that I really, really liked, and it was actually herbal. So like normally it's like black tea, you know. So I'm sure it's not like considered real chai, but it was great because I could have it at night, and they stopped making it, I think. And so I don't know what to do.
I hate that. I hate when you like find a product that you really like and then it's discontinued. I had that recently with a cereal that I was obsessed with. It was just like a chocolate cereal. It wasn't even like that exciting, but there was just something about the quality of the cereal. I really liked it. It's like a C shape, and they're called Zimmies. I have, however, found that once in a blue moon, Sainsbury's has them for about a week, and then they disappear again. And Sainsbury's had them today, so I bought 2 boxes.
Nice.
I'm like, I have to bulk buy.
Yeah.
I feel like we have not helped you with your tea crisis.
No, you've narrowed it down to 3. I'm hoping comments will...
Someone needs to run through the options.
So we've got the Snowball, our best-selling Christmas blend. Chocolatey, coconutty goodness makes the best festive tea. And that's the one that's the Sri Lankan black tea, cocoa shells, desiccated coconuts, cocoa nibs, red cornflowers, vegan marshmallows, syrup, sugar, etc. And then we have peppermint hot cocoa or peppermint hot chocolate, steaming Christmas chocolate with a candy cane twist, which sounds delicious, to be honest. And I will be putting whipped cream on this as well. I will bring whipped cream with me so I can try it without. But like I said, it's one of those things where that and Country Nut Crisp were things that weren't readily available in my house as a child. So as an adult, I feel powerful owning them and having them on a regular basis.
So with hot chocolate, like I love it. I do, but I never buy it because I know that I would consume it like crazy. So it's more so like when I go out with people and go to a coffee shop because I can't drink caffeine, I'm always like, and I refuse to pay like £5 for a tea bag. I get hot chocolate.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Well, when Olivia and I met up for the first time, we went to Costa and you had the white hot chocolate and I had I think I had the orange one. It was a good time.
Yeah.
I love an orange hot chocolate.
My favorite bit about
it's delicious.
My favorite bit about that though was I went proper into like teacher mode, where I was like, and what do you want? And then I ordered for Olivia and then went, I just totally spoke over you. You were probably more than capable of ordering for yourself. I'm so sorry. And Olivia was like, no, it's fine. You crack on.
Like, I'm very much I actually don't want to speak if I don't have to kind of person. So it worked perfectly. And sometimes when I'm with my friends, I'm like, can you order for me?
I'm picturing like Hannah bringing like Olivia Savannah up to the counter and be like, and here's your napkins, go and sit down. It's like
it was so funny because I was like I had my purse ready and I was like, okay, what do you want? Okay, you'll have one of these. Okay, cool. And then Olivia was like, can I pay? I was like, no. And then just like
I tried.
You did. To be fair, you managed to pay for something else. We had I think we had a coffee again later, and I tried to pay for that as well. And Olivia snuck a card in before I could get anywhere near it. I was like, no, I'm paying for this one. Very cute. But no, I do. I get. I think probably because whilst I really like my own space and I like my own company, I am very aware that I am not the quietest of my friend group, and sometimes I can use that. I can wield that weapon for good, and sometimes when you've got quiet friends, talking for them is exactly what they need. Yes, Hannah, please go talk to that person because I want this thing.
Yeah, I'm the quiet friend. I will speak when there is something worth the group knowing or to balance the group. That's me.
Yeah. I'm usually one of the quiet friends. The only exception is if I'm interacting with somebody who's quieter than I am and suddenly I'm like an extrovert. Like, I don't know. It's like I have to, like, when I see somebody who is quieter than me or who is more introverted than me, suddenly I'm like, well, now I have to be the chattier person who's bringing people in and everything. It's like it's a necessity thing.
It is, no, genuinely though, because that is exactly how I would describe myself. And a prime example of this, going to Yauk this year, I found really overwhelming. I only went for the one day, but I found it really overwhelming. And when I got there and there's all those people, I was like, I'm not gonna be able to speak to anyone. This was really awkward. And then I bumped into Lizzie, who'd come up with her girlfriend, and Lizzie was like, I want to talk to these people. And I was just like, cool. And then there was just that switch in my brain where I was like, oh, I need to fill this space. I need to we need to be able to talk to these people. Or people will come up and be like, hey, can I? And I'm like, yeah, that was really cool. But I know for a fact that I get that from my mum because my mum is a panicker. My mum worries. But if someone else is in trouble, she goes into battle mode. She's not worrying. She's got this handled. We're going to deal with it. And I feel like that's very much that's very much what I do. It's just kind of if it's my own problem. I mean, to be fair, if it's my own problem, I'm probably making it bigger than it needs to be anyway. It's probably not that big a deal anyway. But if someone else is panicking, then I'll kind of be like, okay, cool. What can we do about it? Let's sort it. Let's fix this.
Yeah.
I'm good one-on-one. So if I'm alone with someone that obviously that I like and I'm comfortable with, I will talk nonstop. But as soon as I'm with more than one person, even if I'm comfortable with both people, I will just let them talk and only interject when necessary.
Yeah. I'm super confident and comfortable when it's people that I don't feel pressure with. If I'm just interacting with a group of friends, if it's my sister's group of friends or something, where obviously I want to like them, I want to have a pleasant experience with them, but it's I probably won't see them very much. It's I can be really chill and not stressed at all, and I can interact like a normal person. But if it's somebody where I'm worried about how they're gonna like me, or somebody where it's oh, I think they're really cool, I want to be friends with them and hang out with them, that's when I get really in my head and I have to force myself to speak and everything, and I probably come off as super awkward because there's stress there.
But I think that's normal, and I think it will only be awkward if the people that you're talking to make it awkward, because everyone's going to be feeling that same thing. I don't feel comfortable with a new group of people until I've made each and every one of them laugh. Once everyone has laughed, I'm fine. I don't care if they think I'm an idiot. That's fine. That's standard. But I want to know that I've made them laugh, because I think there's it probably is there's a level of vulnerability if you laugh at something, because you you let yourself go for a sec, and it's okay, cool, we've broken down that barrier. And if it gets awkward after that, then they're probably just not the people for me. But if I've made someone laugh, like I just feel in myself more comfortable in the situation.
Yeah. And there's also been like several times where once I got to know somebody a lot better, like we would be talking about like the first couple times we hung out, and they'll say something about like, oh yeah, I was super nervous because I like didn't know you and I thought you were cool. And I'm like, wait, other people feel like this? Like, so I need to remember that like you were saying, it is like a normal thing. And most of the time it's like we never notice when other people are like that, but we always feel like everyone can see that we're feeling like that. It's true of so many things.
I think the most bizarre reaction that I often get, which shocks me every time, is that people think that I hate them because I'm not speaking to them. And like, if they're the new person in the group, I'm speaking mostly to the person I know, but in an inclusive way, but like maybe it's subtly directed towards the person I know. And then after a few interactions where, you know, you get along, like people told me like, oh yeah, I thought you hated me in the beginning because you were just so quiet whenever I turned up. Like, you just go quiet. And I was like, that's not the impression I want to give across at all.
Aww. I think that leads into what Cara said, in the fact that you've got your own insecurities. If they're going in going, I don't want to be hated, then they're already like predispositioned to think that someone quiet hates them. Like my dad is very similar. My dad is the opposite to my mum. My mum and I, we could talk for England. My dad won't say anything, and it will be to the point where it feels almost rude. But it's because my dad is incredibly shy. He's a great networker. Like when it comes to like talking about business and stuff like that, he's fine. But if it's like a social setting, he's not comfortable with that. And it can seem rude, but he's not. It's not that he doesn't want to talk to you. It's that he won't say anything if he doesn't think he's got anything to add. So if you're just, I mean, many a time I've just sat there and just chunted to my dad and just been talking for like 4 hours straight at my dad. And my dad's just been like, not said a word, like it's barely like going in. Do you know what I mean? But that's because he's like, I don't need to contribute. Hannah's clearly got a lot on her mind. That's fine. Like, just but because he's so quiet and because he's so shy, if I make my dad laugh, that feels like such a win. Like, it feels like such a win. And he's got a proper giggle. Like when he finds something funny, he like reverts to like a little boy and gets like a real like hee hee hee. Like it's so cute to watch this like 6-year-old man have a little giggle to himself. Love that.
And seeing as we're speaking about personality traits, do you think you would be the final girl in a situation?
Oh, no.
And if not, why not? And if so, why do you think you could be the final girl?
I don't think I'd be the final girl because I feel like I would be the comedy relief. So I feel like I'm either going to be the second or third person to die. Like I'm not going to be the first person because it's still
you'll be like the pathos
on the list, you know. And I feel like Scream is my favorite slasher. Like the original Scream is my favorite slasher, and I feel like it would be that one where they've just been too sarcastic and now they've got to go. Like, you know, it's just, I'm sorry, Hannah, you were too annoying. You've got to go. I don't think I'd be allowed. And I don't think I would be physically strong enough to fight off your classic villain either. I'm not a runner. Like no. So I feel like unless it was like a Saw puzzle type scenario, I wouldn't survive. I don't think I would survive. I would try my hardest, but like I just realistically, I feel like I've got more survivor type friends, to be honest.
How about you, Kelly and Cara? Surviving, not surviving?
I feel like I wouldn't do something tremendously stupid. So like I'm not going to be the person that like goes down into the basement. But also like I am not strong. So I feel like I would probably get far. But as soon as I had to actually like fight and I couldn't just think my way out of the situation anymore, like I'd just be done. I would definitely panic.
I feel like you have the most final girl energy all of us here, to be honest.
I feel like only in that I don't fit any of the archetypes of the people that get killed. Whereas the quiet person that just kind of goes along and is there and just kind of gets forgotten about until the end. Like that's me. Like,
that is always
I'm gonna accidentally be
like no, but it's always, and that's the like that phrase, like it's always the quiet ones. It's always the quiet ones that survive like till the end, because it's not necessarily that they're forgotten, it's that they are very good at adapting to a situation to either blend in and or survive. Another thing that I really should have mentioned in the whole I would absolutely not survive is, you know, that whole like fight or flight thing where when you panic, you either feel the need to run or you feel the need to fight. I don't have that. I have the one where you just stay stock still. And I can't tell you the sheer number of times I've been terrified and my body has just locked up and I've just been like, this is it. This is how I die. Like my whole body just like freezes. So yeah, if someone came swinging at me with any kind of weapon, I wouldn't be running. I wouldn't, and I'm quite an angry person, so you'd think fight would be my go-to response, but it's not. It's just to stand there and stare like an idiot. So,
see, I worry that would be me.
No, I think you've got more fight in you than that.
I think you would go with flight until it came to fight, and then you would just slay.
I mean, I feel like in the moment where I was like, this person is going to kill me, I would, and I don't have the option of running anymore, I would try to fight, because like, what have I got to lose? It's going to kill me anyway. But yeah, I just don't have faith that I would actually be able to defeat it.
That's fair enough.
I'm not like a horror movie person, so I'm working with like a smaller amount of knowledge than you guys are. I think I would be like that person at the beginning who like runs for help and you don't know what happened to them until like so like maybe I made it, maybe I didn't, but because like I like Kelly was saying, I'm not going to be the person who like goes into the deserted basement alone, but like I feel like I would be freaked out really early and I would try and like go get help because I'd be worried about all of us, but I don't know if I would be successful, because then like would I just be by myself, you know? Like I don't know. So I guess that's like not really an answer, but like what usually happens to the person who runs for help? I assume they usually are found dead later.
No, usually the person that runs for help is actually the one that survives, because like there are so many where the classic trope of that is that no one goes with them, that they go for help and that they're left on their own. Like The Mist is a prime example of that, where this woman really like she needs to go back and get her children. She's really worried about her children, and she's actually played by the same woman who has children in The Walking Dead and like actively goes out of her way to like protect them until she can't, basically. So it's really interesting that it's the same actress for that. But basically she's like desperate to get people to go with her to like save her kids, and no one goes with her. And then as like the end unfolds, you see her there with her kids surviving. Like, and it's one of those things where usually the one that goes for help is actually not necessarily like the final girl, but is a survivor in their own right. And it's like, yeah, maybe go get help next time.
Right, because that would be my like first instinct, is like, I'm not going to be good at dealing with this. I'm going to find somebody who can.
I have though also watched quite a few where everybody thinks they've made it out, but they haven't made it out.
That's what I was wondering.
There is also that option, but there's also you could make it out.
Yeah. I love Lizzie's comment. So Lizzie's put, I would want to be the final girl, but I am for one very slow. And I feel like I would talk too much to the villain that they would kill me. But I know that's not true, because when Lizzie gets a grump on, she doesn't really say very much. So I feel like there would be this very indignant energy that's like, I'm sorry, you've kidnapped me? All right. Like, it would just be like that level of like, don't know if it needs to do that. Okay, not happy about it. So I don't know. But the slow thing, Lizzie is 4 foot something. I can't remember. So I have a habit, if we're out somewhere, of kind of like getting distracted of like what's around me and then turning around and realizing that I've left Lizzie behind. Through no fault of Lizzie, just me being a bellend and just kind of like wandering off, not looking where I'm going.
I think Kelly would definitely make it. I'm like looking at her comment. I feel like you'd be like the organizer of the group. I think you would make it.
4 foot 7.5. Thank you, Lizzie. That
Okay,
0.5 makes all the difference.
I was talking to my dad one time, and I said something about being like 5'4.5", and he's like, only short people use half inches, right? And I'm like, you're not wrong, but
it does. It makes all the difference. I think I'm going to go for the snowball one because I think it's the one that I'm going to like the least. So I want to save the other two because I know I'll enjoy those, and I'm going to give this one a go. So I will be gone, but I will return, and I'm not going to try it until I get back either, so that you can watch to see if I hate it or not. Because I think it'll be funny.
See you in a bit.
I
And just to answer my own question, I think I would not survive because I would end up sacrificing myself at some point. I think that would.
I see
that's
that.
what would make me out.
Yeah.
I finished my first word, so I'm going to follow Hannah's example, and I'm going to celebrate by going to make a cup of tea.
It's tea break time.
I'm going back to knitting because I got tired of doing captions.
That can happen. It's also updated its system recently where it loves to capitalize all the things.
Yeah, well, the thing that's weird is like sometimes it feels like they're using the new system and sometimes it feels like they're using the old one. And it's like, I like having the I's capitalized, but yeah, it'll just do random nouns. It's like anything that it thinks sounds like it could be the title of something, it'll capitalize it.
This is the title of your video. This is what you should be talking about.
Yeah.
I'm so close to the end of this planning. I've been planning this novel on and off all through the years. So I'm like, I can't wait to be done.
I am so excited for you. Congrats again on the writing group or project. That's so exciting.
Thank you. I really am just, it's just great to have editorial feedback and see the type of things that they would be looking at. And it just feels like a step forwards, and I really hope there will be more steps forward afterward.
Yes. I am sure there will be.
But yeah. Trying to balance writing and reading is a bit of a challenge sometimes.
I can't even imagine. I struggle enough balancing reading and video stuff with everything else. I think that's one of the reasons I would not be cut out to be a writer is I don't want to give up my reading time.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that's the only thing you need to do as a writer, but
Yeah. I mean, would you want to try, if you didn't have to sacrifice any of the time that you allot to different things right now, would you want to give it a go? Or are you no?
I have some ideas sometimes for stories. But I can't really picture myself ever writing them. But the time thing, honestly, would probably be the biggest. So if there was a way that I didn't have to sacrifice reading time, I maybe would try. Yeah.
That's fair. That is fair.
There's an Oscar Wilde quote I love that's I am too fond of reading books to ever think of writing one. And that's me.
Wait, is this an Oscar Wilde quote? Oh, okay, so it's not him. Is it in a fiction book or is it him?
So let me find it.
Because I was going to say,
I think it's from
a writer.
I know. I think it's from Dorian Gray.
I can't believe I still haven't read any Oscar Wilde.
Unpopular opinion, I think his plays are better.
I actually am really looking forward to The Importance of Being Earnest.
It's so funny. That's a good one.
I really want to read that.
Yeah, the quote is, I am too fond of reading books to care to write them. And that is from Picture of Dorian Gray.
And that is one I do want to read. I could have put it on this Gothtober TV.
It is very Gothtober appropriate.
Maybe I should try and slip it in if I get a new set of prompts. I've allocated everything, but then also I haven't told anyone what I've allocated anything for, so I can read around.
Yeah. I have something picked out for pretty much every prompt, but I'm trying to be better about letting myself just read what I want to,
Yeah.
So
it's nice to have some of those freedoms. I mean, your TBRs do give you a lot of freedom.
They do. I have so many options. It's ridiculous. I feel like weirdly like I need to apologize for it because it's like, am I wasting everyone's time by talking about 30 books that I definitely won't get to? Because like I read a lot, but I don't read that much.
I think it's nice because then you get to see the different types of things that you're excited for. And I feel like some people do that through book hauls, but you don't do as many book hauls, for example. So then this is another way of showing that.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I really did fall off doing book hauls. I just got lazy. Apparently, I can only handle a certain number of time-sensitive videos per month, and book hauls just fell by the wayside for me. Because I have definitely been buying books. I just don't talk about them.
Yeah, I don't do time sensitive. Like Wrap Up is just time sensitive. I've got a book haul to post, and I probably filmed it like June, July, before the buying ban, and I feel a bit cringe posting it now because it's like people know about the buying ban, but it'll get out there at some point.
Yeah, and it's pre-filmed. Like, I think you've talked about pre-filming hauls before, so hopefully people won't like be like, "Hey, you're breaking your rules."
Stick a pin comment, like, let's still go.
Yeah.
Well, fairy tales adapted into comics. I actually think I've read his fairy tales because I did a course on fairy tale in uni. So I think the only wild I have read are his fairy tales.
Mm-hmm.
A massive book.
That's a good idea.
I feel like it won't be too massive though. Like I feel like Hannah has self-control.
Yes, you do, Hannah. I'm very impressed. I think like one of my problems, like we were talking about earlier, like the struggle with book buying bans. I think for me, one of the things that's hardest is like I just pay attention to new releases so much more than I ever did. And I know how important pre-orders are. So I pre-order more books than I used to. And I never pre-order a book that I'm like not really excited about. But I just feel like now, as opposed to a couple of years ago, I am much more likely now, if it's a book that I'm really excited about and that I'm pretty confident I'm going to enjoy and that I do plan to buy at some point, I am much more likely to pre-order that book now because I want to give that extra support. Like if I'm able, obviously, you know, we can't, none of us can like pre-order every book that we're really excited about, but like I'm just much more likely to do that. And I think that's one of the reasons why it can be really hard for me to commit to like, I don't know, like a buying ban or even like a buying restriction. I do think just counting how many books I've had in and off my TBR has helped this year. I actually just did, I need to figure out how to film it because I never do like massive unhauls because I just unhaul continuously. But I have like a giant one because I've just been like collecting books that I'm going to get rid of. And then I finally went through and unhauled a bunch of TBR books, which I almost never do. So I actually have a lot to get rid of, but it's like I never do this big of a book haul, so I don't know how I'm even gonna like organize it because like this is such a silly thing, but it's like I'm so annoyed that I'm gonna have to unpack everything from the boxes so that I can show them and then repack them.
That is fair. That is a fair thing to be frustrated about, though. Yeah, I do like. I've seen them called like inbox, outbox, where you kind of just talk about both and like flow between the two, but
yeah. I've been tracking that for myself, which I think has been good because even though I've been buying more books than I planned to this year, I think I can still tell that it's a lot fewer than if I wasn't keeping myself accountable. But I just, I need to figure out a better system and one that doesn't lead to me just like giving up like we were talking about where I'm like, well, it doesn't matter now because I messed up. It's like that's not helpful.
Not how it should go, but it is difficult. It is difficult. I usually just count my numbers once a year, but this year I'm like keeping up with it so I can see how far off of how close to 500 I get or how much closer I get to 400, and then try and balance it. But I'm kind of at the place where I'm reading a lot. Actually, I read a lot last month, like the most I've read before. And that's because usually what helps me balance is unhauls, because I'm pretty free to unhaul things, but I don't have anything on my TBR that I don't want to read anymore. which means the only way to unhaul anything is to read it and not like it, and therefore I just need to read now. There's no other assignment.
Yeah, I know. I've had like, I think it was this last month in September where like there's a few books that I read purely for the purpose of unhauling them. Like I obviously thought there was a good enough chance I'd like them that I still wanted to try them, but I was reading them with the intention of like, this might not be for me, but at least I could finally get rid of it. So I feel you.
That is legit one of the reasons I picked up The Name of the Wind, and now it's just like, I'm going to have to get the sequel and then be part of the group of people that are waiting like 10,000 years for the final. And I didn't want that, but I'm going to have that.
Well, it's a tea and it smells like marshmallows. But I'm not going to drink it just yet because it's very, very hot. But yes. I forgot to tell you guys earlier, I bought myself my first Halloween snacks. I don't know if you can see that because it's too bright.
I see zombie balls.
Zombie eyeballs.
Eyeballs. Keyword
I see zombie balls. We need a like a Gothtober out of context or something.
Yeah. I see some.
So there.
There we go.
But they're just M&S chocolate.
Okay. Nice.
I'm pretty sure they do the same shape, no matter whether it's Easter, Halloween, or Christmas. It's just the foil that's different. So
that is always fun. I've got like 8 more tabs of notes to write up, but I'm also trying to understand it, and it's really hard to like try and comprehend AI, science, and talk. And
yes,
that's
one of the reasons I switched from captions, is because like trying to read and talk and listen all at the same time, I'm like, this is not an efficient way to do this.
But I'm determined to finish as well, but I'm going to just take a quick break.
That's why I enjoyed colouring in. I was like, no brain power required.
Yeah.
I've also got my Night Wash candle burning. Night Wash is in from the Dreamer trilogy, which is the sequel to the Raven cycle. So therefore, I am very happy, even though I'm not going to reread the Raven Boys. I still have something Raven cycle this autumn.
Yes.
I'm surprised you didn't manage to get more Raven Boys themed prompts into Gothtober this year.
I mean, it says Aglyamby Manor in the prompt list, like when you're choosing Gothic Mansion prompts, and that's just Aglyamby from Raven Boys, so that makes me happy. But I'm trying to not reread stuff and not read fan fiction. And I mean, the last book in the whole universe comes out this month, so it won't be with me till November because mine's coming from the US. But it's coming out. It's probably just going to sit on my TBR for ages as I try to convince myself it's not the end.
I know, yeah.
Anyway.
Are you going to start all the way back from the beginning when you finish it?
You know, I should. Every now and again, I think like I should really go back to my Read It Backwards series because I was having so much fun. Mm-hmm. So I might reread the last one again so I can continue reading it backwards from there because it was a good time. I'm living vicariously through my best friend reading them and telling me every little tidbit, every single tidbit, and it's nice.
It made me so happy when you were reading Artemis Fowl and I got to like experience that excitement again. Like,
oh, that was also a very good series. I'm still sad that the sequel series was so disappointing.
I know. I don't think I'm gonna even read it. It's like I never like. I don't want to spoil stuff for people who haven't read them, but like the main characters of the sequel series, I've never been a fan, and I don't like that. It's like the thing. One of the big things I love about the original series is Artemis and Holly, and so the fact that they're barely in it, it's like I don't know. Like I know people people who have really enjoyed them. I just don't know that I would.
That is exactly how I feel about the Raven Cycle series. I was like, these characters are going to be in it, and I can count. I was petty. I counted how many pages the characters I wanted to have page time got, and in the second book it was 8 pages. So
is that it?
It was 8 pages. It's not even like the full page. I mean, like we had some lines on.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Having said that, because the book that I'm currently writing is going to be a duology, there's quite a prominent character in the first one because she's my favourite, but she doesn't really rock up in the second one until about 2/3 of the way in. So my fear is that people will really like her because I really like her, and then they'll be like, Hannah, you seem to have forgotten somebody.
I tend to get on really well with like companion books. Like I really like that. I think sequel series is what's hard for me. Like I know a lot of people love the trope of like following like the kids of the first generation of characters. I hate that. Like I don't think I've ever, at least that I can think of, I don't think I've ever like enjoyed a series that did that because that's just not something that I like. But when it's like companion books within the same series, I tend to really like those. So
I agree with all of that.
Yeah. See, there's we did a read along, Abby, Becca, Lizzie and I, and it also had Ali and Emma from Emma Novella at the start reading Skullduggery Pleasant.
Yeah.
And Derek Landy dropped a very suspicious video on Instagram earlier today that was very much hinting that something that he's been promising for ages may or may not be happening. And it's not TV, it's not film, but it's, you know, related to spooky season. And we're all like, please be the Omen and Augur spin-off series that we are desperate to see. Because like there's 2 brothers. Have you read it?
I've read like the first like 7 books, maybe. It was a while ago.
Okay. So yeah, it's probably like book 10 maybe is when you meet this character called Omen Darkly, who when I first met this character, I was like, he's so annoying. Like he's just like he's a little boy. He's like so annoying. By the end, I was like, if you touch a hair on this precious boy's head, I will come for you, Mr. Landy. To the point that Lizzie and I are looking to get kittens in the new year, and I've already decided I'm going to get a black kitten and I'm going to name it Omen after Omen Darkly.
I love that.
Because he is a precious baby boy. So like there's certain things where I'm like, I like those characters enough that I would absolutely read anything they're in, watch anything they're in.
Yeah.
But if it was like, say for example, they're like, oh, we're going to do a spin-off of Skullduggery and it's going to be like the ghost hunters that are in it, I'm like, well, I'll read it because I know it will be a good time. But it's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not what I wanted, but surprisingly, there are some characters who I liked enough from the first one who I care about. It's just that 50% of them are new that I don't care about.
Right. Like the idea of following Ronan's brothers more, like especially Declan, I find that really interesting, but I just don't think I'd care about the other stuff. So
yeah, no, I don't. And it's surprising I don't even care about Ronan anymore.
Yeah.
Because Ronan's with the new ones, and then there's like brothers, and I'm like, the brothers bit is great.
Yeah.
Storyline.
Yep.
What is the best and worst sequel you've ever read?
Ooh.
Now she's asking the tough questions.
Let me go to my Goodreads and sort my 1 stars.
I'm gonna go for best sequel. So, like, I love the Raven Boys all the way through, so there can't be a best sequel because it didn't get better and better. But the first one, I was like, this is good, and then the second one was like, oh, this is amazing. Is the David Bad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty, where I really liked the first one, and then I was absolutely sold on the second one, and I thought it just took it above and beyond and made it very unique. That's the best for me. Worst I need to think about.
Yeah, have a think. Did you hear what I asked, Kelly?
No.
What is the best and worst sequel you've ever read? Because we were just talking about like spin-off series and stuff like that. So it was just, to me, it was the obvious follow-on. What's the best and worst one you've ever read?
I think for me, I have to go with Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. It's the third book in that first trilogy. I give it 1.5 stars. It is like 900 pages where like nothing happens. And it's really a bummer because that was the book that I was like, am I going to be like the person who doesn't like Robin Hobb? And apparently I am. I just, it upsets me how much love she gets for what I think is really mediocre storytelling. So I am like personally offended by her and her books. So I think I'd have to give it to Assassin's Quest. Those are hours of my life I will never get back.
Is that the one where he goes for a long walk? Is it that one? Or is that later?
It's like it is like a lot of walking, but it's like a quest. And it also, there are so many parts of that book that feel like they were written by a very particular kind of male fantasy author. Like I'm not exaggerating when I say that every female character that the main guy meets, who is even like remotely in his age group, is like desperate to sleep with him, despite the fact that we are told over and over how like dirty and smelly he is, and the fact that he's like a sheep herder, so he always smells like sheep, and apparently he's just like God's gift to women. I was like, are you sure a man didn't write this? So I also like, I have a lot of issues with the way that she handles sexual assault in the second series. I mean, yeah, personally, I would not recommend her books, but like almost everybody I've ever heard of has loved them. So feel free to ignore my review. But...
Well, I've got the first 3 because there was a bundle for someone ordered them in and then never paid me. So I just kept them because I was like, well, this is a series that everyone's talking about, so I might as well just keep it for myself. Like, no one was going to buy them from me because they've been ordered in specifically, and I don't like putting stuff on my website that I'm either not super excited about or that I haven't read yet, just in case, because I like to be able to put trigger warnings and like content warnings and stuff like that on there. And I like to be able to actually say, like, this is a good book, like you'll enjoy this, or I think you'll enjoy this because it's like that. And it's very selfish. It's a very selfish way to sell stuff. But I feel like
it's a personal touch.
Yeah, and I just think, well, because I know that there's so many bookshops that will you'll walk in and the first things you see is essentially like a Booker Prize winner shelf. And it will be like, these are the newest hardbacks out by all the really big publishers. And I'm like, I know they sell really well. They don't need me to come along and be like, you should buy them too. I'm there for like, someone's like, okay, I need to read 3 times a week with my child. My child hates reading, and I'm not a massive fan either, but we do like watching this TV show. Can you recommend me a book that feels like this TV show? And I can be like, yes, I can. This is a really good time. This is like, I'm an adult. I read this child's book. I thought it was hilarious. Like, and things like that. I like being able to do that. I like being able to be like, you really like this author? Well, I have something very similar. Like, I like being able to do that. So I've got the first 3. I'm trying. The first one was meant to be on my TBR for last month, and I've got the audiobook saved on Scribd. So I was going to do the first 3 as audiobooks and kind of see how I feel. But I've just not been in the mood for high fantasy in ages. So
I did really like the second book in that trilogy. That's when I was like really hopeful and excited about her other books. And I do think that like her other series, I think I have a better chance of liking. So I don't know. I still haven't decided if I'm continuing. Because speaking of being stubborn, I am like so irritated at people acting like I can't have an opinion unless I read all 16 books, that there's a part of me that is like, I'm going to read all 16 books and then I'm going to tell you it's still bad. But I shouldn't do that for my own health. So
no, you give it 3 chapters max. My thought is always, I try not to put anything on Goodreads until I've hit the 3 chapter mark, because then I'm not even DNFing it. I'm just not reading it anymore. Because if like Olivia will know this, most submissions, if you're selling your book to your agent, you have to send 3 chapters. So it's a case of, from my point of view, if you haven't sold me on a book in 3 chapters or 10 pages or 10,000 words equivalent, why should I care? Like, if I'm not interested by chapter 3, I'm not going to be interested. And even if there's like, and that there is this classic thing, especially with like very new authors, or certainly not authors looking for agents, where they'll like send random chapters because they're like, well, it gets really good on chapter 10. I'm like, I don't care. Start at chapter 10 then. Like, I don't want to start when it's boring. And it's like, it kills me because I don't tend to watch a lot of television, but there are so many TV shows that I refuse to watch because people tell me, oh, season 2 is so good.
Yeah.
You want me to make it through season 1 first?
Yeah.
And book series. People do that with book series too. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to read your book series if you say it gets better at book 3. It's not going to happen.
Like, unless I have specific reasons for wanting to go farther, if somebody, like, I know there are people who it's like they give the first book in a series like 2 stars and then like, but I'm going to continue because it's supposed to get better. I'm like, if I even give the first book like 3 or 3.5 stars, I might not continue. Like, I probably won't unless I like have something very specific that I know I'll like better later on, because it's like most of the time the things that I have an issue with now are still going to be an issue later. Like if it's the writing or the characterization or like whatever, most of the time those things are still going to, I think, be a problem for me if they're a problem at the beginning. But yeah, I feel like every live show I'm in, I end up complaining about Robin Hobb. So I'm sorry.
No, I'm here for it because I don't get to see that side, and I think it's really interesting because I feel like loads of booktubers don't talk about the authors they don't like because they feel like the moment they do, they're either A, opening themselves up to be upsetting someone else because they don't like something, or B, they're like, well, now I feel like it's a rant review, and it's like, no, it's an opinion. You're allowed to have one of those because I like Samantha Shannon's writing in the Bone Season saga. I really like. I've just finished The Mask Falling like a month ago, and I've really enjoyed that. I did not care for The Priory of the Orange Tree, and so many people are like, it's the best thing she's ever written, and I'm like, it could have been 200 pages. It easily could have been 200 pages, and it would have been wonderful. It could have been 3 books and it would have been great. Even if it just followed one perspective per book, I would have been thrilled. But she didn't. She tried to cram about 9 books worth into a book. That audiobook is 42 hours long, and it felt like 42 hours. And it's one of those things where like there are certain times when I'm like, right, this author has, like, I'm off this author. I'm not going to trust them again. I'm not going to read something else by them. I read The Paris Apartment. I'm not going to read anything else by that author. Like, that's just straight up not the writing style for me, especially because that's their most recent book and it's the one that everyone says is their best. I'm like, cool, just not going to do it then. Not my thing. And then other authors where it's like, okay, I'm going to try something else by you because I can't work out what it is I didn't like about this, because it could have just been plot, as you said, it could have been characterization, it could have been writing style, but until I've tried something else, and I'm like, the last chance authors. But I am very reluctant to pick up like books by authors that have burnt me before. Yeah.
Well, and it depends so much on why. Like, if it's just like, oh, the story and the characters or whatever didn't quite come together for me, that's something where like, yeah, I'll try the author again if I'm interested in another book. But if I feel like if I don't like the way you do characters, or if I'm like actually like offended by like something in your book, or like with one of the reasons why I'm really struggling with Robin Hobb is like there are things I feel like she communicates in her second series I've read that I'm like, I am like actively offended by this, and I don't know, like, it's not even, I feel like it's not even like, oh, surface level feminism, and she, like, I understand the books were published a couple of decades ago, but I'm like, there are things that she is like communicating and endorsing, I feel like, with her storytelling, where I'm like, I don't think this is something that's going to get better. And so even if I like the other plot or characters more, there's always going to be that in the back of my head. It's like, do you actually like women? Like, do you have friends who are women? Yeah. So like, it depends on why, like, on what the problems are, you know? So yeah.
Because with the Skullduggery one, because obviously I love that series. I love that series so much. But book 11 was really dark. And I really struggled with it because it was one of the first times where the books got chunky out of nowhere, seemingly. Yeah. And I was like, okay, this book is longer. There's a lot more in it. There's a lot more character development. And like, to talk about for a book club, it was kind of perfect. But I don't know, because it was the start of a new season, basically, because there were like 3 trilogies. Then he took like a 5-year break, and then he came back to it for book 10. And I was like, to me, that was quite noticeable. I don't know that I would have continued with the series. I think I'd have just stuck at 9 and been like, well, I love 9. Those are all great, and have just left it at that. And then I would have missed out on what I think is the greatest sequel that's ever been written, which is book 14 of 15 of Skullduggery Pleasant. And I can't remember. I think it's called Dead or Alive. And that book made me cry. Like, I full on wept. And then 3 pages later, Derek Landy had me laughing out loud. And if you can manipulate my emotions like that, you get 5 stars. That's incredible. Like, it was such a good book, and it was so clever. God damn you, Dan Landy.
I think my favorite sequel answers would be the Time series by Megan Morrison, because I liked the first book a lot, but like the second and third, I think are even better. And this is one of the cases where I will mention, like, I know this is annoying to hear, but I think that the first book does take a little bit to get going, because the thing that bugged me is a lot of people were DNFing it because the main character is naive. I'm like, it's a Rapunzel retelling. She has literally been in a tower her whole life. Like, it doesn't bother me if I understand why. But I think that series gets really good. I also think Raybearer and Redemptor by Jordan A. Fueco is like one of the best series I've ever read. And it's only 2 books. And the first book is amazing. And then the second book actually like lived up to that for me. And then the other one would be the Marisi series by Maria Turchaninov, which is translated, which I feel like is why it doesn't get as much attention. But like that third book, I think is the best in the series. And like, I loved the first one. The second one is also good, but it's really, really hard to read. It's a prequel, and just like a lot of content warnings for that one. But it is still very good. But like the third book just like really pulled it all together. So
that's fair.
That's like 3 answers. I'm sorry.
Also, for getting better, talking to you, Cara, I do think, like, I love, I don't even know what the book's called. We're going to read it for the thing, and it's my pick for your...
Knife of Never Letting Go.
Yeah, The Knife of Never Letting Go. I do think the second book is my favorite in that series and gets even better, but I still think the first one is absolutely amazing. Okay. And for worst, I got it from, like, Kelly just reminded me that I thought the second Sherlock Holmes book in the novels, The Sign of Fall, was the worst sequel I've ever read. It was just, it ruined Sherlock for me, like Sherlock canon. I don't appreciate Sherlock retellings as much anymore or anything, because it was just like racist and horrible and awful. And not a good mystery even, or good writing. But anyway.
I hate that for you. I don't know what my worst, like, I've asked this question and I'm literally scrolling through my Goodreads being like, I don't know, because like most of them, like the books that I'm like, this is a series and I didn't like it, I just didn't continue. So
yeah, right.
Like,
I DNF series left and right. Like, it's so hard for me to DNF a single book, but I DNF series with abandon. I love it. Like,
Same.
Like, there's series where the sequels haven't got as high as the first book, but they're still like 3-4 stars as opposed to 5 stars. So I'm like, right. And it's not like it sticks in my head as that was the worst book I ever read.
Also, talking about bad sequel series, we should mention how awful of an ending Shadow and Bone has, but how great a sequel series Six of Crows is in comparison.
I haven't read Crooked Kingdom yet.
I haven't read Crooked Kingdom. I say it's great based on the
first though. Like, it is good.
But it's still great. It's still better.
Just in case anyone said anything spoilery, I just wanted to get
I haven't read it. Where have you been? Hurry up. No, I'm joking. Yeah, no, I made the mistake. I think I did it the other way around. I think I did Six of Crows first, and then I did Shadow and Bone. No, I didn't. I think I did Shadow and Bone, the second one, then Six of Crows, and was like, this is the same person. And not only that, I did all of that after reading Ninth House. So I went in with very high expectations.
So I, when the show came out, I was still working in a store. So like, obviously every day I had someone coming in looking for that series. And there was one person that, and I started with Shadow and Bone and really liked it. And then I read Six of Crows and I was like, oh my gosh, I finally understand like why people say that this is so much better. But then I had this girl come in and she was insistent that she wanted to read Shadow and Bone first. And I was just like, if you don't like it, please still try Six of Crows. Like, I really enjoyed this, but a lot of people don't. So if you think it's bad, just like still read Six of Crows. Like if you're enjoying the show, you will love Six of Crows, even if you don't like this book.
Controversially, I did not like that TV series. I DNF'd it after like 2 episodes.
I DNF'd the Six of Crows series, so the book series.
Spicy.
I know.
It's like, should we comment on this? Should we unpack it, or should we
like? We're like, no. We said earlier on that we all have our differing opinions, and I am such a one for being like, I don't like this, and then
I do definitely agree that it's a lot better than, like, I did like it more than the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm struggling with at the moment? Is the fact that I adored the Cruel Prince series. I have not been able to finish any other book by Holly Black. I tried the Tithe bind up. I got about 100. No, I got more than 100 pages in. I had got like 250 pages into that. And then I was like, I've had this book for 8 months and I've not picked it up once. I should probably just DNF and unhaul. And I am 50 pages into Book of Night and again have no inclination to pick it up and read it. And I'm like, but The Cruel Prince I adored, but I didn't like the little spin-off sequel that she did, how the King of Elfheim learned to hate stories.
I haven't read that one or the last final book yet, but I also have been really loving the Cruel Prince series. But I've read from her, I did like Doll Bones, which, speaking of creepy middle grade, I remember nobody was liking that a few years ago when everybody was reading it because I guess they read Cruel Prince. And looking back, I'm like, was that just a lot of people who don't like middle grade? Maybe. But I thought that was really good. But I was not a fan of The Darkest Part of the Forest. I was really enjoying her Curse Workers trilogy, but then I hated the ending of that one. So I feel you. I also, the way that she writes female protagonists kind of irritates me. I don't know. I feel like for a female author, she's not great at writing women. Which really obviously that can happen, but
because I really liked Jude, and I liked that she's not a stereotypically likable character, but that she is. What's up? Oh.
I'll be back in a bit.
Okay. I like that she's not a stereotypical likable character, but at no point does Jude spend ages wallowing over choices she's made or spending so long trying to come up with choices. I like the fact that she's like, I've made this decision, I'm going to act on it. And that is very rare in a YA. I just didn't believe some of the interactions she had with her sister. And I feel like there's a lot, which I'm not going to spoil because obviously if you haven't read the last book, there's stuff that happens in that book that I'm just like, I don't know if I believe that, but I'm enjoying it enough not to question it right now. Yes, whereas in the Book of Night, and certainly in the Tithe thing, I spent a lot of time going, I'm questioning this, and I do not wish to be questioning this anymore. Yeah. But I can answer my question, which is which sequel disappointed me the most. I read Demons of the Ocean, which is the first Vampirates book by Justin Somper, in July of last year, and loved it. Loved it so much, considering it was a reread, that I then went out and bought the other 5 books. 1, because they've got great covers, and 2, because I just really enjoyed the series. Tried to read book 2. And was like, oh, you're just the first 3 chapters is it just telling me what happened in book 1. And I didn't even make it to my 3 chapters so I could put it on Goodreads. I just put it down again. And I'm like, I have all of the books now. I need to read this.
No, it's I'm usually pretty good at the books that I buy multiple, or the series I buy multiple books for. I'm very rarely am I burned by that. But once in a while I will be, and I'm like, this is not a good way to make purchases sometimes.
No, and I do feel like, and they're so pretty, but I'm just like, I don't know if I want to read these now. Because the first one was great, but I'm like, did it just ride off nostalgia? But then is every book going to be and now a summary of the books you've just read?
Yeah. I think that can be helpful if it's before the book starts, or maybe they're assuming that you're not reading them back to back. But it's
I think they're also assuming that the people reading them are children because it's middle grade. So there is an element of that.
Yeah. And if you're putting it in the actual story itself, it's not before chapter 1. Normally you would think it would be something that would be integrated into the story better. So like there would be references that would remind you of things that happened before rather than just a straight up summary.
Sorry, I'm just checking my phone, which is very rude of me, but I play D&D once a week, and I've got a D&D Discord. So we like drop memes and stuff in there, and like I've got like private chats on there as well, so that characters can like share different stuff. But I have a tab in particular where I drop character art that I found on Pinterest or the internet in general of like what I imagine some of the non-player characters look like, or NPCs. And this group of people that I'm playing with are so funny because they are so thirsty. And like I'll be like, here's a character, and they'll be like, oh, and like get all excited. And the reason I got distracted is because one of them has just put yes to sex, please. That's it. But there's 14 messages from that chat. So that's in response to something. I just don't know what it's in response to. So I'm like, I need to know. But I've just screenshot it so I can send it back to them and be like, I had this without context whilst I was on a live stream. So thanks, guys.
Can I just one?
Yes, here for that.
Also, so this was the first and only D&D campaign that I played. My character was a sorceress, and at a point got like a panther companion.
Amazing.
So when I left PE, my like work friends who were also my D&D group made me this as my going away gift. So they found like art that was what they imagined my character looked like and put it on a mug for me.
I love that. That's really nice. My campaigners don't do that. I've got a t-shirt that says I'm all the bad guys, but that's about it.
I also, because my DM was, Alan had already moved, had brought my car to Cape Town, so I didn't have a car for the last month that I was in PE. And my DM, who was also the like assistant store manager, was driving me to and from work every day. So as a thank you gift, I made him a shirt that said, "You can certainly try." And that became his DM shirt.
I love that. Because it is like, I love creating, because I tend to DM more than play. I tend to create kind of sandbox situations. So it's like they're in a place, there are loads of things for them to do, and depending on what they do, more things will appear to suit that, as opposed to I have this very set idea of where I want this story to go, and a lot of it is just trying to put out fires that they start and just kind of being like, oh no, they think this is important, I guess it's important now. It's just like, that's like my favorite thing to do. But it is very funny to me because one of the guys in my group is playing a pirate, and like I was like, oh, so like what's he known for, like as a like what's his reputation? And he just went, oh, he is an absolute ladies man. And I was like, great. Like, and I've exclusively put massive women in front of him, so like orcs, dragonborns, like things like this. And he's just like, I'm like, you're mildly intimidated by this woman, but you're still turned on. And he's like, Hannah, stop it. Like, it's so funny. I'm like, this is a situation you created for yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, funny.
It's
I
like
want
that.
a nice mug now. I want a swanky mug that they sent me, but they don't do that.
I have to announce I've finished my plan.
Yes.
There's nothing that I'll write now, but I will not write right now. I did go on Twitter and see a teaser for the last book in the Raven Cycle world, and it hints at things that everybody said was going to happen, and I was like, it's not going to happen. And now I'm sad. But we shall see. I'm not sure what I want to do now, though, because we still got like a good half an hour. I think we'll go till 1:15. How do people feel about that, craft-wise?
That sounds good.
I'm
like,
yeah,
proud of how much I've gotten done.
We've done a lot. How's the shirt going? The jumper?
That's not bad. That looks good.
That is pretty
Yeah.
fun.
I might carry on with this during sprints tomorrow.
That's
just
fair.
so I can finish it.
That's fair. I will need to read because I cannot find a audiobook for Beyond the Black Door anywhere. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to actually read this, which is one of the reasons why I keep not reading it, because it's one of those ones where I'm like, I know I'm going to enjoy this, so I don't want to pick it up first, which is silly, really. But I have been doing this thing this year where if I TBR something 3 times and don't read it, I'm obviously not that fussed by it, so I'm just immediately unhauling it. And there is something about being like, okay, it's on its last chance now. This is the 3rd time I've done this. So far, I've only had to unhaul 2 books this entire year because of that. Because I do tend to TBR the same books over and over again because I'm like, I want to read this. I just didn't get to it yet. So yeah, I've lost 2 books to it so far. And Beyond the Black Door, this is the 3rd time I've TBR'd it. So I have to read it. I have to. And I have to unhaul it.
That'll finish tomorrow. We are exactly the opposites because you're like, I've got to read physically. And I was like, I might as well just read one audiobook while I move rooms and stuff, and it will last me the whole month. And I thought it was going to last me the whole month, but I was like, otherwise, I'm definitely a physical kind of reader.
Me too. I struggle with audio a lot. The only thing I have found it recently, it's been really good for like forcing myself to start a book that I just like need some extra help getting into, or if there's a part that I'm really bored at, like just forcing myself. Makes it sound like a horrible experience, but you know what I mean? It's not like when I'm reading physically myself where I can put it down anytime I want. I feel like when there's an audio and I'm reading along, that is like easier to stay motivated, even if I'm not loving the book. So that has been really helpful for me. It's helped me get through a few of those books where it's like, I don't know that I'm going to like this, but I don't want to unhaul it without trying it. So,
but do you think maybe if you're only listening to audiobooks when you're like struggling with the book, that's probably going to make it more difficult for you to enjoy audiobooks?
I actually have listened to other ones. Like I did kind of this experiment a couple years ago where I was trying to make myself get into audiobooks, and there were a couple that I really enjoyed, but because like I was picking stuff that I was interested in. But it's just one of those things where almost every time I would have enjoyed a book. Like I enjoy a reading experience more if I'm physically reading. So even though there's been audiobooks that I think were really well done and that I really would recommend to people, like usually what happens is if I'm like using an audio to get through a book I'm not like having a great time with, and then I start enjoying the book, I will stop listening to the audio because I don't enjoy that experience as much as like reading it myself.
Fair enough.
So like my auditory processing is not very good. So like that's like a big part of it too. I'm very impressed with people who are very good audiobook readers.
I devour audiobooks, but I know that is because as kids, one of the things that like my family used to do quite a lot, so my parents used to work, so we were looked after by like nannies and au pairs and stuff. So if we did see my parents, it was usually at the weekends or in the evenings, and we would go for drives. Like a classic Sunday for us would be to go to the supermarket first thing in the morning, grab picnic stuff, and then just drive all day somewhere rural, somewhere nice. We'd stop, eat the picnic, and then we'd drive home. If we drove on holiday and stuff, like if we went to France, we'd drive. If we went to Spain, we'd drive. So it'd be a case of, we used to listen to a lot of audiobooks because it was just an easy way to get us kids in the back to shut up. It's like, no, you have to listen. So we would be like nice and quiet. And we used to listen to Terry Pratchett, the Paul Temple mysteries, things like that. So it was a mixture of like things that my parents would like, but that we kids could understand as well. Like it was they weren't difficult. There was nothing like convoluted or anything that we were listening to. And my dad used to read to us before we went to bed. So for me, it's very easy to just have that constant noise of like listening to an audiobook. To me, there is no difference to listening to an audiobook to listening to music. And if I'm doing something that doesn't require a lot of brain power, if I'm doing admin for Waypoint Books, for example, where I'm going through and just copying and pasting stuff to create new books on the website, then it's quite easy for me to just have an audiobook on. And if I'm by myself, I will burn through them. Like I finished 3 audiobooks this week because Lizzie's not here. So like of an evening, I'm like, cool, I'll just listen to an audiobook whilst I'm having my dinner. And I'll play Sims and I'll listen to an audiobook, or I'll go for a walk and I'll listen to an audiobook. Like I just have something on pretty much all the time. And like part of it is that it's fine. Like our house is really nice and quiet, but our stairs are quite clearly parallel to the stairs of our neighbours. So every now and then it sounds like someone is walking up and down our stairs, but it's our neighbours. And they're fine. They're not noisy at all. They must get absolutely sick of me because I listen to metal music first thing in the morning to wake myself up. And like sometimes if I'm like rushing around, I'll leave my phone upstairs where it's playing music, go downstairs to get it, and I'm like, I can still hear it. So I'm like, I know they can hear it, but they've not like come and knocked at me or anything. And I try not to do it when they're like when it's super, super early. So I won't do it until it's like 9 o'clock or whatever. And yeah, so it's one of those things where like sometimes if I haven't got noise on, I can hear them. So I'm like, well, I need to have noise so that I don't have to hear them, because I know that it's just enough to like fill the room. It doesn't need to be like, I'm not fighting them for like sound or anything.
That is how I use music, but also with music, like I always have it on because my family is like a big family. So when there's no one there, it's like there should be a hum, there should be a buzz. But if I start thinking, I just naturally block out the music. So it can always go, but I will naturally block it out, which is why with audiobooks, I can only do chores or I can only walk because as soon as I have an independent thought, I will block out the audiobook and then you miss something. Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
So it can really only be a few things.
Yeah, if I'm writing my book, I've got a specific playlist for it, which is mostly classical music, or it's like rock versions of classicals. I can't have anything with lyrics. The moment it has lyrics, I'm not listening to, like, I'm not focused on what I'm writing. I'm listening to like the lyrics. And I just don't want to risk it. This sheer number of times I've been typing something and then I'm like, no, I've just written down what I've heard. So like I need to go back and like take that back. But if it's like inputting data or admin or anything like that, listening to an audiobook and packaging books is so nice. Like I'll just spend all day packaging books and I'm like, I'm just going to listen to my audiobook because it's just tape, stick, box, tape, stick, box. Like it's
I can't believe I used to be able to read in the same room as somebody watching TV and I would be fine. And now it's like I can have hardly any noise. If I have to block out something, it's like I will play like instrumental music like loud enough that I can't hear the other stuff, but not so loud that it distracts me. It's like I also can't do music with lyrics if I'm reading or writing or anything like that. Like the people who can, like superheroes, I can't even. Yeah.
I can, but then I will not hear it anymore because I'm doing those things. So it'll
still be like you're not listening to it.
I'm not listening to it.
Yeah. My favorite, if I'm going to be reading with background noise, is I used to love like hanging out with my friends and they'd be playing the Xbox and I'd be sat there reading. And like I would burn through books whilst they were burning through games. And like some of them, they tell you on the back how many like hours of play it's going to be. So it could be like, oh, this is going to be like 80 hours of play. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to finish this book in 80 hours then. Because it's not necessarily that you're going to sit there and do it at the exact same time, but it's like I'm going to be sitting and reading. So I really like the playlists on Spotify that are from specific games because it will just be enough for me to just kind of like sink back into that kind of thing. And I've made, I don't know if you saw, I've made some like ASMR type reading timers that are specifically for Gothtober. And I've done one that is just leaves rustling. And then I've done one where it's a really slow piano music. And then it's got like clips I found that I've kind of mashed together to create like a Jane Eyre like storyline type thing, just to kind of have in the background, because I really like the like ASMR reading rooms. But they either don't have a timer on or they do have a timer, but the ASMR noise or like lo-fi music is really irritating. So I'm like, I have made these for me, but other people can use them. That's why I've like put them on my channel and stuff, but they are for me because I was like, I need one or the other. I can't have both. So
I never got lo-fi. Like I know that people listen to it while they're reading and writing and stuff and studying, and like I never got it until I found a playlist of Star Wars lo-fi, and that got me onto a bunch of other like nerdy lo-fi. So now I have a playlist that's like lo-fi of Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, video games, and it's amazing. I love it so much.
I do love a bit of lo-fi, don't get me wrong. It was just like the mix of that. Lizzie kills me because we like listening to ambient sounds. So there's one that's like a Lord of the Rings one that we listen to all the time, and it kills me because it's a really nice like Shire. It's like the Shire music playing, and then every now and then you can hear Gandalf like humming to himself, and he'd be like dun, 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 and then it just like fades out, and it kills me every time. And all the image is just the Hobbit door with like a graphic that kind of like makes the leaves look like they're moving and stuff, and it's very gentle and it's very nice, and it's like, yeah, it's quite nice being able to like listen to that whilst you're reading. And Lizzie and I, we don't have a television downstairs, so it will usually be a case of if we're watching someone doing reading sprints, which is how we spend a large majority of our time is watching reading sprints, is we'll have Lizzie's laptop with the reading sprints because her speakers are better. So when she plays like what we can hear them, it'll be easier that. And then I play the ambient sounds because it doesn't need to be as loud because it's whilst we're reading. So then like we're like switching, like I'll pause it when like they start talking again. And it's like, yeah, it's a great way to spend an evening.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut in because we're down to our last 15 minutes. I want to ask one more question, which was the most, like, I looked up spooky questions and some of them were very dodgy, and this was the most random one that I liked, which is, if you were a book character, you realized you were not going to be the final girl, it was your turn to die, what would be your last words?
That's really hard because I'd want it to be funny. Like I'd want to go down in a blaze of glory, but I feel like I would absolutely, like, I know for sure that my the truth would be, it'd be something like, wait, what? Like it would be something like, I'm confused. But I would love for it to be something really cool.
I hope for me it would be something about getting at the rest of people safe, you know, like I hope that would be the context, is that like my last stand, you know, kind of like you were saying earlier, Olivia Savannah, would be so that the rest of them have a better chance of making it. So I don't know what the exact words would be, but like something like that, maybe like don't look back or something. I don't know, that's usually what they say. Yeah, or keep going.
Like I'd like to think it would be something cool, but in reality it would be something really lame, like ow.
I know, it's like, what if it's something like, oh fuck.
Also, because I am just a parody of myself, so you know, if you understand that reference, hit me up, let's be friends.
There is a DM person, Arbria, I was trying to remember her name. There's a DM.
I thought of that one.
Who is on Dimension 20, and she said the greatest thing I've ever heard, and it's, I know what I'm doing and I do what I want. And I would love, like, I feel like that levels, like, I feel like that adds a level of Hannah's about to be real stupid to it as well. It's like, I know what I'm doing and I do what I want. I feel like I'd have to quote her on that.
I feel like when I had time to think about this question, I was like, I would love it to be like dramatic, like, guess I'll never finish my TBR or something, something like well thought of, just fly off the end of my tongue. But I feel like it'd be something like, I'll see you later, and you know, we're actually not gonna see each other later. Just to like try and comfort that person.
Yeah,
I feel like the gremlin in me would also want to like neg the person that's killing me. Like I feel like I'd be like, oh, is that all you've got? As I'm like bleeding out, and it's like, it's barely a flesh wound. like something like that.
Mercutio vibes, right?
Yeah,
that's what yeah, going out with a pun, like Shakespeare would want.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I would love to, but I feel like I wouldn't be able to pun as well as Mercutio, but that would have been cool.
No. Yeah, I'd worry that mine would be like, I would trip, and that's how I would die. I'd be like, oh, like, and that's my last word. It's like, oh man. Like, hopefully not. Like, I don't want my death to be embarrassing, you know? Like, actually, there's one of my friends who, we ended up traveling a few places together, and it was a really good like combination because she would get me to try stuff and I would pull her back from like trying too dangerous of stuff. And I finally told her, I was like, okay, if your death were reported in like the newspaper or whatever for this, would you be embarrassed? And she's like, that's a good rule. I'm like, yeah, like just
That's the best life advice I've ever heard.
Thank you. It's just good to keep in mind because it has kept me like a couple times where I'm like, oh, I could take a chance. It's not that big a deal. I'm like, this would be a really embarrassing way to die, though. And I was like, let's not do that.
See, for me, I'm like, I'm embarrassed myself all the time, so I don't know if the embarrassing part would be an issue. I feel like it's like, how quickly would I be found if this went horribly wrong? It's like more my mentality. Because where I grew up, there was a really nice like beach bit that was like underneath some rocks and stuff, and it was really great for like fossil hunting and stuff like that if you're a big nerd, and just like generally hanging out. But there were so many areas of it that were really, really dangerous because if you fell down a drop like that and the sea came in, that's it, you're not getting found. And that was kind of the thing that like, if I go that way and I do stumble, how long is it going to take for someone to realize I'm not here anymore? So I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to risk that.
Yeah. Also, I was really wondering where your story was going to go, Cara, because you started it like, I don't want to die in an embarrassing way. So my friend, and I was like, no, where is this going to go?
No, it's okay. Sorry to stress you out like that.
I had exactly the same thought. I was like, you seem awfully calm if you're about to just tell us about your friend that died.
But absolutely not. No.
Do any of you watch Horrible Histories, the kids' TV show about? Because there's a thing on there that's literally about like embarrassing deaths, and that it tickles me every time.
They have so many good songs on that.
They really do.
I've watched some of them online because I think that's like a UK thing. So I don't think it gets broadcast here, but I ended up finding them just a few months ago, I think. I don't know how it was like recommended to me, but I have been really enjoying them. Like the Borges one is hysterical.
Yeah. Like they're just really clever, and like we used to use them. I remember I used to watch them quite a lot at school. But one of the writers that writes for Horrible Histories has written a spooky ghost book that I've bought recently, which is called Wish You Weren't Here, and I'm so excited to read it because I read I've got the third of the trilogy where they've done like a fairy tale retelling, and it's just so funny. Like the way it's written is so funny because even if you're like, that joke is really tropey in like the way that it was like created, that it was formulated, but like it was still funny. Like it's really funny. So I'm really excited to read. It's about a ghost hunting family that travel around the UK. Like,
what's the name of that first fairy tale book?
It's called Darkwood, and it's by Gabby Hutchinson Crouch. I will drop the Goodreads into the chat for you.
Thank
because
you.
I love this book, and I feel like no one's read it. I know Lizzie's read it because I made her read it, and she really enjoyed it.
Awesome. I love a good fairy tale retelling.
But it's got under 500 ratings and reviews on Goodreads, which to me is disgusting because it's so good. I gave it 5 stars. It was like the funniest book I'd ever read.
I mean, it's come from Horrible Histories. It's kind of a given. I read those books like nobody's business when I was younger.
I couldn't get into the Horrible Histories, but I loved Horrible Science.
They were also pretty good.
I actually still have them, I think, but like we had a couple of those like weird kids history books, like things they don't tell you about history was one of them, and then I think one of them was like, I can't believe it's history, something like that, and it was like a very similar concept of like weird or gross or like just very bizarre things that actually happened. Like that's like a very specific subgenre of kids books that like we were definitely into, and it was very interesting. Like we learned a lot.
Yeah, look at us educating ourselves while reading.
I know.
I think we're coming to the last like 5 minutes. So do we want to do a like craft check in, wrap up. I
And
see, like,
then
Kelly's like,
I will just say, one of these is decidedly better than the other. Like, the fact that I did both of these today is insane to me, because this looks like this is my art 12 years ago. Look at it now. Do you know what I mean? And do you know what's really annoying? Is my art teacher was right. That looks so much better without the black outline.
The worst part of all
So
of this.
annoying. Because I've just used the same pen again to outline it, and it looks great. So, god damn it. Oh, and also with regards to the tea, I didn't say anything to begin with because I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but I don't like it.
oh, well,
It tastes too marshmallowy. It's very confusing on the palate.
Is this the one with the coconut?
Coconut, black tea, and marshmallows.
I have to admit, coconut tea I don't really love coconut flavors, but coconut tea doesn't really appeal to me much.
The coconut and tea bit was fine, but it's the fact that as you because it smells really floral, because you can smell the coconut and the tea, and then the closer it gets, all you can smell is marshmallow, but then you can't taste the marshmallow. You can just taste the coconut and the tea, which is very nice, but then you've still got this like marshmallow smell just like in your face. So it's really bizarre.
I don't like marshmallows, but I like scented and flavored things that are supposed to like communicate marshmallow. So I don't know how I'd feel about that one.
It wasn't my favorite, but then I didn't think it would be. I thought the others would be, but also it's loose leaf as well, which I was not expecting. So I had to find some way of like draining it properly without getting it everywhere.
I still need to figure out how to handle loose leaf teas, because they always come with directions and I always follow them, and I'm like, I don't think this is how it's supposed to taste. Like, I think there's a learning curve that I need to.
Thermometer.
My dad got me like one of those little timers that has like different like types of tea on it, so that you could then but then I don't know what I've done with it. I don't have it anymore.
It actually makes the tea so much better once you do the like quantity and time and temperature, and it sounds so extra, but like it makes really good tea.
Yeah. I need to look into one of those, because like I'm really good at estimating how long I want it to steep for like black tea and then like certain herbal teas that I already know. But if it's a new one, I'm like, I don't understand what to do. Your recommendation doesn't seem right. But here's my final check. I didn't do any more since I showed it last, but this is pretty good, I think, for one morning's work, one early afternoon.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of progress.
Yeah,
I just need like 10 seconds.
Go for it. I'll update. I finished the plan. It's 5,000 words long, and I understand the science more than I did before, which is one of the parts that I really wanted to nail down. I have a map. I have a list of characters, and I can cross off their names as they die.
I love that that's something you have to plan ahead for.
Amazing.
Very Gothtober.
The first draft that I wrote, I kept like saying like, "Oh, and this character's gonna say this," and then I was like, "Oh no, she's dead." So I've then made this plan of like, so I can keep track of who is dead. We've got to keep talking. Kelly needs to add these final touches.
He's like, I'm concentrating.
I just got a knot.
Oh no.
And I'm like, why now? The pressure.
It's always when you're trying to do something fast that.
Yeah. I had a moment earlier where I dropped a couple stitches and I was just quietly panicking for a few minutes. Like,
this is why I don't rush. Like, if I'm going to be late, I'm just going to be late. Like, if I rush, I'll be later.
That's cute.
that is very cute.
I'm very excited.
It looks good.
It looks really good. Oh,
I
wish
only know how to do one stitch. What?
I wish I could embroider like fandomy things into clothes so then I could just have them.
You could learn.
I know the one stitch. It's a back stitch. It's the easiest one.
I know how to cross stitch, but I don't know how to cross stitch outside of guidelines that have already been set for me. I think that's what
Yeah, I don't know how to cross stitch outside of like the cross stitch material that has the holes.
Yeah. But anyway, I love all of your crafts. They were all successful, as I said they would probably be. And I hope everybody else enjoyed crafting along with us, talking books, rants, reviews, everything in between. Thank you for joining along. Do any of you have anything you want to plug or mention? I will mention that the next Gothtober live show is on Hannah's channel tomorrow. Start to finish sprints already scheduled in, so you can go and set your reminders. Yes.
Yeah. The only thing I want to plug is the Gothtober hoodies, which are available via Waypoint. And I was very smart this year. I just went for like a thing rather than a date. Because last year I got merch with dates on it. And that was a mistake. Because if anyone wants a 2021 keyring, I've still got some of those. And by some, I mean I have 30. I have 30 keyrings, which I used as Christmas decorations last year. And I'm not even sorry about it. But this year it's just classic hoodies. And they're so cozy. I haven't got the heating on, and I'm still very cozy and warm in this hoodie. So can recommend.
Nice. The only thing I have to plug is I am starting in October another read along with My Name is Marines. We are doing the Fairyland series by Catherine M. Valente, which I'm very excited for. I have never read it. She has read it a bunch of times. And it's going to be really good discussions. I do have an announcement for that on my channel. And it's also kind of the start of a bigger project that I've been planning for a while, which is the Not a Genre book club, which is basically going to focus on reading middle grade and young adult books and giving them the same level of discussion that adult books and classics usually get. And obviously there are people who do that, but I feel like broadly speaking, you don't like, it'll usually focus on, this was fun, this is my favorite character, which is also great, but there's a lot of like thematic stuff, writing stuff, basically all the things you can talk about for adult books, you can also talk about with middle grade and young adult. Like if you were reading along with me and Hannah when we did our Frances Harding read along, it's going to be kind of similar to that, where we really talk about a lot of different things. So yeah, if you've been wanting to like try this series, or if you've been curious about it, this would be a great time to pick it up.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
I don't really have anything YouTube-y to plug because I've been super inactive. But I've been drawing a lot, so like go follow me on Instagram, I guess. It's Velvet Creative Agency.
She's very good. She's very good.
I love that. Go follow me on Instagram, I guess.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to commit to it.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know about that one. I think I only know about your Bookstagram, so I'm going to have to find it. Yeah, thank you all for joining me, and see you soon.
Yeah.